Hello, everybody on the live. Looking in at Coach Talk
Hello.
episode number 20, episode 60, actually.
60, 20. How'd you miss that one up?
I don't know. Maybe I was
You're only
I,
like
I
a
was hoping
third of the way there.
I was hoping for the better days.
Oh, wait.
Wishing for the better days, the old
Where's that
days.
tab?
Is it playing the
Where
feed?
is that tab? There it is. Shh. Silence. Okay.
Silencio, por favor. All right, so we'll get those up. I'm gonna get the descriptions up as well. Boom, 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 boom. Now I got all those Busch Garden songs in my head.
Uh-huh.
The Rocky Mountain sunshine is something you'll hold on to. I listen to that playlist a lot now, I have to say. Where's
I'll
the...
help you out. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boys, she'll chew you up.
Okay, that's
Oh,
worse.
here she comes.
Alright.
So the exciting news from this weekend is that I think Piper may finally be convinced to ride Mystic Timbers.
Ooh. Are you gonna go to opening weekend?
Uh yeah, we were talking about yeah, I think that's a high possibility because they just renewed Piper's Pass.
Do you have the descriptions up for this? I'm confused where they are. The Battle for Ages with like all the descriptions I wrote.
Descriptions? What, where, what,
Like
huh?
the ones that I was posting on social media with all the information about it and stuff. Do you have that up? Because I can't find it now for some reason.
You mean the document?
Not the Battle for not the slide, but the ones with like all the words and stuff about it. Yeah.
Yeah, here.
I don't know where the link for mine went. It's kind of weird.
Text in Discord.
All right, I don't know where the heck that one is. It's really weird. Whatever. All right, so
I've got so many tabs open, it's ridiculous.
and I hate that.
Ah, and now I just bookmarked. How did I do that?
So do you want to highlight the ones that the year that won that year, just so we can like
Yeah, that's what I was thinking we should do.
just bolden it? All right, so that one. All right, so go through and then 2005 one. So if you can maybe go down towards the bottom and you can start down there and I'll start down towards here to make this run a little faster.
Hold on a second.
One.
Wait, I'm moving tabs around. Hang on.
One. Four.
I don't have enough monitors, but I have too many.
And I have just the right amount.
No, you don't.
It works great for me.
All right, this message right now is for Pam. There is a chat on YouTube.
What is she telling you?
It's just funny. She keeps sending me texts like on stuff that I'm saying.
Yeah, the chat is there for a reason. Oh, 2007 when they here. Wow.
What other tabs do I need?
Alberta bound, Alberta bound. It's good to be. All right, yeah, we got it. Can you start?
Right.
Can you start? Because this is kind of a lot.
Where am I starting?
Just start at the bottom and work your way up. And look look
I'm
through.
starting at the bottom.
Yeah, look at the PowerPoint and then look at the so yeah. That way we can run together. That way. 1958 one there. 1958 one. Wow, I did not know realize that. That's surprising.
Oh, you're giving spoilers to live lookers.
That's the point, though. They get the hype. They don't they don't even know what we're talking about, though. Some of them don't even know what we're talking about right now. So.
They might.
Hopefully they do, but they might. Some of them might.
I made it way too small on that monitor. How do I zoom?
I mean we could just look at this real quick. Like you look at the the bracket and then look at the thing, and you can determine who wins. We don't need to bold it, I guess.
Wait, what?
Like we can just you can just when you're looking at this, just look from the bracket to this, and then you can look and see which one won.
No, highlighting is best, I think.
This is a humongous waste of time. Alberta bound.
We're just bolding it, right?
I'm just bolding it, yeah.
I like wasting time.
I've noticed.
I don't know why.
Especially during movies.
Only the movies you like, James.
Yeah. When it's Thunder Dolphin or whatever you wanted to watch, it's different. Or the
Thunder Dolphin?
Whatever, the one with about dolphins or whatever.
It wasn't about dolphins. It was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
All right, that one, yeah. I've yet to watch that. I still need to watch that. You told me to, and I haven't really watched any movies since then. That's a lie. I watched L.A. Confidential, which is a great movie. Have you ever seen L.A. Confidential?
I don't think I have.
That's about it's like a crime movie, like a mafia kind of, not really mafia, but it's like it's really good. It's not old. It's 1990s, I think. But what's his name is in it?
Oh, what's his name?
Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey, like some very good actors. Danny DeVito, you probably know him. It's a great cat. It's a great movie. It's a very good movie.
Man, there's a weird thing about all these years. Like some of these, it's like you can tell people actually really thought about it, and then there's others is like, they picked it over just one coaster.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get that. Sadly, have a little bit of bias.
But it's like interesting though how it's not every year.
I mean, we got about the same amount of votes every night. I think we got about 20 or 30 people voting every night, so it's like the same amount of people, same people probably. So I don't know. Maybe they were just tired one day and were like, screw it.
You wore them out. There were too many.
1992.
If we do this next year, we gotta break them up.
Well, we'd do something different next year, but it wouldn't be the years again because there'd be no point in doing years again. But next year we should do. We got to think in advance now. Any live lookers have anything we should do a battle of? You guys are the first to hear about this.
I actually think we should do it again because then it builds momentum.
Yeah, but it's like this. It's probably gonna be a similar outcome because the years don't change. They're like solid. At least when you do,
it still grows it over time.
Yeah, like 1 year at a time. This year we added 2020. Will 2020 be the best year? That's kind of like maybe like every other year, and then like the next year we think about something else. Are you doing it?
Wait, what?
Are you bolding?
I've been bolding.
Oh, it didn't sound like it, so I thought.
I am emboldened. Hopefully, I'm doing it correctly.
It's a pleasure just to be. I'm just highlighting the whole thing. Let me see. You can probably be. Yeah, that's fine. You're gonna catch me. That's the plan, Stan.
You're saying I'm better?
I'm saying you're putting in more effort. I think we missed. We really. Whoa.
Wait.
We really messed. I think we messed up the number one seed for the 1980s and 60s. We put 1989 as the number one seed.
See, now that's the thing. Like, next year we could do it with the seeding based on this year's results.
I mean, we did it all right because it faced a bet, but just because Magnum opened that year, everything else kind of sucked. Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun.
What year are you talking about?
1989.
Yeah, what about it?
It isn't that good. It's just one. I mean, Magnum's pretty significant, but that's like it.
I mean,
the other years in the 80s had other good things.
It's extremely significant.
I don't know if it is significant to make it number one. That's all. I don't know. I mean, like, you have some other good years, like.
I mean, the majority of what we have now may not have existed
I would
had
say
that.
1984 is a better year. Big Bad Wolf King, that right there, that's a way better lineup than. That's like, I mean, Big Bad Wolf is one of the best stand-ups, and I mean, we're obviously not gonna change it now, but I'm just saying. I don't know why
I mean,
1989.
that's definitely a big year, but
I would say that, looking back in hindsight, I think that was a better year. All right, 4-1.
you're highlighting the shit I'm highlighting.
No, I'm not.
You are.
Not. Are not.
Look at that cute little purple it becomes.
Now you're highlighting the things that I'm highlighting, so that's not. 1988. I didn't finish. I don't think. I counted Phoenix getting moved in 1985 because it got like reconstructed and stuff. Did it lose? Did 1985 lose? No, it won. I was going to say. And then 1984 won.
Wait, are you going?
Yeah, I accidentally skipped one. All right, now
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. All right, there we go. We're done.
Woot woot.
Alrighty, let's get ready to do this then. I'm actually really glad my computer crashed because I got a lot better audio and stuff. It's a lot more, it's a lot better stuff, like better intros and stuff. Did you listen to this week's episode yet? I don't know why you would listen to yourself say the same thing.
I did. No, I actually do listen to it.
Okay. You listen to yourself?
Not every week, but
I think we're on a good track for. We might. I don't know if we're gonna top last month's listens, but
well, February is also shorter.
exactly. I think that's why. But we're already at 400 listens, so that's pretty good for the month. So. All right, yeah. Let's test your audio. Ready, go.
This is a test of, I don't know, some system. Had this been an actual something of that system, we would be told to do something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
This is a test. Did that work?
Yeah, it's quiet again, but it always seems like it's quiet at the beginning, and then somehow it just ends up not being quiet. So. Boom, boom, boom. I think we're good. All right, that sounds good. And then my audio is hopefully good. I'm not going to do this again last week. Testing my audio because last week it was recording on my external microphone, which was awful. I hope the live stream is working this time too, actually, now that I think about it. Last week I looked at the live stream and it was the audio was the audio from
seems to be working.
Testing my audio
because we got that loop back.
Yeah, I mean it was working, but like my audio was not recording through my microphone. It was recording through like my camera for some reason. Tomorrow night I'll be Alberta bound. Did you know that?
When?
Tomorrow night.
What are you going up there for?
It's a song.
Huh? Oh.
It's the song they play at Busch Gardens. In the New France section of the park. Tomorrow night I'll be Alberta bound. Alright, so we're going to talk about Kennywood. Is there anything on here that we don't need to talk about? Because
I lost that tab.
Coaster Crazy is going to be crazy.
Wait, where? Oh my god, I have way too many windows open right now.
Do you think? I guess this is all pretty good. This is not too much to talk about either. It's not like into depth. We're not going to argue over anything. We cannot argue over anything.
I'm sure we'll argue about something.
We cannot argue over anything. We don't have the time because we're already going to argue.
I'm going to argue about arguing.
We have to argue. It's a. All right.
If you're not going to let me argue, I'm going to argue about not being able to argue.
Oh boy. All right.
You're quiet all of a sudden.
My audio?
You need a microphone that attaches to you.
I'm literally in the microphone right now. Does it sound good right now? I'm inside of it right now.
That like in the Matrix?
Yeah, I'm like I have teleport. I'm the size of an atomic particle, and I'm in the actual microphone right now. So if I'm not being produced whatever, what is it?
I don't believe
projected loudly enough, then I'm sorry. Is it good now though? It should be. It should be pretty good.
But yeah, it's good now.
All right. This is how I'm gonna be during the podcast. I need to just, for some reason, whenever I do, I like start to lean back over here and then go back over here, and it's like,
yeah,
I just need to I just need to stay in the microphone.
We need to tie you in place.
Well, yeah, I know it's ADHD and anxiety and all that. I'm like twitching and doing all these weird stuff. I just gotta sit down and read the rundown. I just gotta remember every couple minutes that I'm doing a podcast. I'm not just talking to you on the internet. Sometimes I literally forget, and then I'm like, "Oh shoot, we are literally doing a podcast right now."
We're actually live.
Like I'll be listening to you talking, and I'll kind of like zone out or something, and then I'm like,
I know, I've noticed you do that.
And then I zone back in, and I'm like,
and I like stop, or I like say something, and it's like, is he gonna respond to me?
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, what are you even talking about? I'm like, wait, because you go on like 10-minute rants about one little thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm not listening to this entire comment.
You do too.
I do not. I try to not go on like.
You're right. You only go on 9-minute rants.
I do not go on. I will pull up your audio and we will show literal clips where it literally is 10 minutes of you talking for like this long.
I don't disagree with that.
And mine is never that long. Mine might be like that long or this little long, but it's not like that huge length. And it's like I'm not gonna listen to you for 20 minutes talk about. And you keep
usually you go on for 10 minutes. Arguing about me.
Yeah, but we'll argue about arguing, but but it'll be like me and you back and forth. It won't be like me talking for 10 minutes because you can't allow me to talk for 10 minutes straight. That's not possible. I don't think you have to butt in. Which I mean, I just zone out. So if I didn't zone out, then I would probably as well. But I literally will just be sitting there and I'm like, oh wait, what about this tomorrow? Or what about that? And then you're like, yep, James, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Next topic is. Yeah, I just completely blow off what you were saying. All right, but I'm gonna try to be more focused. Maybe I just need to take like some sort of drug before the show so I get like hyped up. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to Coaster Talk. Whoa!
We'll put you on Adderall.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. All right, let's get down.
Hyper Coaster Talk.
Didn't. All right, so I guess we'll open it up with I don't know. We need to have somewhat of a long intro because I have the new intro music is pretty lengthy, so it needs to be like a minute or two of us like discussing something beforehand as well. Because I mean that's how usually podcasts start too. Because I don't like just to be like welcome, all right, let's get into it, and then go into another. I like it to be like where we actually talk. I like the ones where we talk for like a minute or two before we get into a direction news are usually better received as well. I don't know what.
Talk about.
What have we done? We already talked about whatever the heck that was. Hershey Park in the dark.
I've done nothing. I went to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that doesn't count. and I've stayed in Richmond, Virginia. I would say I'll bring up my chat, so we're doing that in Coaster Craze.
I fixed my blown up server.
Something somewhat coaster related.
I've got an awesome park going in RCT.
In Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yep.
Is there any like small news that we could talk about even before, like something cool or funny or something that's happening?
What?
Like
I don't
sometimes we'll be like, oh, this is happening. What was that?
know. How do you not know that sound?
I mean, I know what it is, but like, what the heck? Why are you listening to it? What the heck are you doing?
Look, I built that all by myself.
Oh, you're.
Somebody's texting me.
Oh boy.
Oh, guess who it is?
I think I know who it is.
Pam says we should talk about how there's nothing to talk about. She hates February.
We could talk about how crappy February is. Oh, I guess we could bring up the fact that we're going to talk about the Battle for Ages and stuff like that. 'Cause that's pretty big. I mean, we don't have to talk about it. We'll just be like, that big poll happened, and we got some cool results, interesting results, blah, blah, blah. Just talk about, I guess we could do like a little bit of a recap of what this episode's going to be about. Sometimes that's what podcasts do. We don't have to do this every week. Next week, we'll probably have something else to talk about. And soon, I'll have to, I don't know, maybe I'll somehow record a podcast from Fiesta, Texas or something. I'll like bring my stuff and I don't know. I don't know how that would work, actually. I'd have to do it from the hotel or whatever with you. Because it would suck if I tried to do that at the park. Because I'd have to get you online somehow. And I guess I could just do like a quick little report from the park. Like just me.
The timing would be pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get, we're going to have a lot of video footage from there. I'm going to do a couple reviews and stuff. All right. Oh, I can talk about that? Oh, no, I'm going to talk about that in Kosher Cruise. Yeah. All right, let's start. Let's just talk about how there's nothing to talk about.
Let's just talk.
We'll figure it out. I'm just going to talk about the break run. So talk about the Battle of Ages. All right. 1, 2, 3. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60. It's the week of February 21st. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. What is the week? It's Sunday. I forgot. I always put the date of the actual episode right now. It'll be getting.
I forgot to silence my phone too, so
it'll be getting released.
It is now silenced
on the 16th. So it's the weekend. It's the week
Pam,
of the 17th.
If you don't text me, not gonna hear it.
Dun dun dun. All right, you ready? I know you're ready. And I'm still recording your audio. All right, so everything you just said, that's unnecessary. Okay. Oh boy. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. My name is James Barber, and you are listening to episode number... I messed it up. I did the old intro.
Did I miss my cue?
Yeah, I think you did. Because that's the old intro.
I tried.
That was the intro pre-Bob. And I would just jump right into it. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60, the week of February 17th. And my name is James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
And Bob, this is an exciting episode. We have a lot to discuss, and especially about our poll that we just conducted. And this is not a normal. We usually do weekly polls every week, and they're small little fun polls. However, if you guys have not been listening, the past couple of weeks we've talked about doing a poll system called Battle of the Ages, which is a bracket, and we're going to be discovering the best roller coaster year of all time. What year was the best in terms of introducing innovative, creative, and insane, awesome roller coasters, fill in the blank in the adjective describing the roller coasters. But, we have some years that are, more historically significant. They might have produced the most insane, extreme roller coasters, but they were historically significant because they produced rides that really changed the industry. We have some years that, are voted based on having the most insane and intense rides and stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see these years clash together and see how people lean, if they're more leaning towards the sentimental and historical side of things, or if they're going to be like, no, this roller coaster kicks butt, we're rooting for that. That's the way that gets through or whatever. It's interesting to see. We've had a couple of upsets. We're going to talk more into depth on this. That's going to be this week's break run. But I thought just let fill you guys in on what's going on this episode. We'd quickly hit that and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. It's kind of fun to have something to talk about when there's really nothing to talk about in
And exactly, and
February.
that's the big goal of this is that by the time we get to the 2020 season, the starting of the 2020 season, which is March 16th for us here in Virginia, because that's when Busch Gardens Williamsburg has their opening day. By the time we get to that, we should have figured out the best roller coaster year of all time. So that's going to be the conclusion of the 2020 off season. So that's going to be a lot of fun to finally, to somewhat fun on the off season, because there's not a lot to discuss and to think about during the off season in terms of roller coasters, other than, there's sometimes some news and stuff like that, which we are going to talk about as well. But this is something like even more exciting to add a little bit more thrill to the off season 2020. No response.
No, sorry.
I didn't know if you were going to say something. That's
You
fine.
it kind of cut, and I wasn't sure if you were done talking or not.
I can just pick it up from there. That's fine. And none of your audio recorded, so I'm glad.
Oh, gee. Well then.
Well, it should have, though. I don't know what the heck just happened. I'm confused. I just saw it recording it. Oh, there it is.
It's
You
kind
just didn't talk at all. That makes sense. You didn't.
Oh.
I mean, you only said like one thing, so I just didn't see it for a while. I just see like your one little yeah. All right. Or do you want to say something there or no?
Yeah, I'm good. Because if we have enough there,
That's good. I mean, I'll just talk about
just
that.
move on with
All
it.
right, here we go. So yes, we're going to talk about that in the break run segment of the show. But of course, every week on Kosher Talk, we start off with the segment we call Attraction News. Was that good? That was all right. That's kind of weird, but
Yeah, that was good.
that's fine. Sure.
I'm good with that.
All right. I was really concerned with your opinion on that.
I'm sure you are.
All right. Let's get on. I have not read any of these things, so hopefully I'm able to quickly. Actually, I read the Anka Park thing, but I know the Kennywood.
Yeah, Kennywood I think's interesting.
I'll bring up the Six Flags thing too, because that's become a rumor. Even though it's not really confirmed anywhere, but that's just become kind of a speculation that people are making.
Wait, what?
That Six Flags Kennywood, maybe. Like that's.
Oh yeah.
People are talking about that on Discord
Six Flags Kennywood.
and Reddit and all that. All right. So an interesting thing that's occurred now, I screwed up my audio there. My audio started recording too late. All right. All right. Wait, so I didn't know Parquet's Renee Onados got a new CEO.
Hmm?
I know that. Didn't
Yeah,
Parquet...
we talked about that.
It was CFO,
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Palace. Oh, was it CFO?
Yeah, it was CFO. It was not the CEO. I know that for a fact. I think it might have been COO. I think it might have been COO, actually. I think it was
No, no. I thought he became the CEO. He was the CFO of SeaWorld.
No, he was the CEO of SeaWorld, and then he came...
Well,
okay, I can look at it. It was episode,
yeah.
I think...
We need to figure that out.
I'm pretty confident it was not... He's not become... They did not get a new CEO. I think that was 2 episodes ago, so... Boom, 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 boom. All right, 58 maybe. Let's see.
You know, another thing, you say we've been talking about this for a couple weeks, but really, we only talked about it 1 week.
Yeah, no, it was 2 show recordings though.
Yeah, to us it was 2 weeks, but 59.
Yeah, but no one cares.
happened in 12.
It's all right.
Just saying.
I thought this was closer. I guess it's further back. I thought it was like the last couple episodes. It was after we talked about Vortex hitting and Cedar Point hitting capacity, right? I don't even remember. That was Hollywood Nights. That was 2020 Hollywood Nights.
I mean, it was this year.
This is crazy. I'm just going to look it up.
Oh, Kennywood's marketing chief stepped down too?
Okay, here it is. John Riley. He's the chief operating officer now. He's the COO of Palace Entertainment. He was the CEO of SeaWorld, yeah.
Okay. And yeah, change that.
What'd you say before that?
Wait. Chris Salerno is also stepping down. He's the marketing director of Kennywood. He's also gone.
I'm just gonna re-record that opening too, because we might as well now. Because I didn't really like that actually. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. So and then that, because I didn't think it flowed that well either. All right. Okay. So when we're ready, we're gonna start officially, like go into it. So Kennywood, blah blah blah. I'll just read straight off of there, and then you can fill in whatever you want. And then I'll
hold on 1 second. I need to update that because apparently there's more info. Wait, what is marketing director?
He was the GM and the marketing director, or the
no, it's two different people.
All right, all right. So I'm gonna restart like the whole show, pretty much, because I didn't like how that flowed.
All right, there you go.
All right, you ready? I'm starting back from the top. So, 3.
Wait, of the show or Attraction News?
Of the show. I just said that. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't like how I didn't really like how that flowed. Hopefully we can do better this time. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60. It is the week of February 17th, and my name is James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
We are your hosts for this week's show. No, we're your host every show. It's not like it changes. Maybe it does. Maybe we just change every week. Maybe we just didn't even know it.
Just make up random words every week.
Next week I'll be Joe Lewis, and you can be like some freak. I don't know. We're a bunch of
Jeff Davis, the janitor.
We're schizophrenics, and we just sit here and we. The only thing we retain with us is Coaster Talk podcast, but we're just different personalities every week. Oh boy! All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything. Okay, 1 second.
Your source for everything fountains.
Oh boy, people. All right, let's go. This is crazy. Let's get this. Can't even. This is like the you're smoking cigarettes again or whatever.
Jeez.
Oh my god, that was bad. All right. Boom, boom. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60. I'm James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
and we are your hosts. And we have an exciting.
Exciting? Is it exciting?
Is it exciting, Bob? I'm pretty sure it's. I think the word I would use to describe this would most likely be exciting.
It might be exciting too.
Yeah, exciting. God dang, man, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Now I'm messing it up even more. Contact us. I had it fine. CoasterTalkPodcast.
You totally missed the date too.
I said 17th.
No, and this time I don't think you did.
All right, well, whatever. We're restarting. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60. Episode number 60?
Is it episode 60?
Oh my gosh. This is why it's like I can't get out of these like funks whenever I start this. All right, I'm going for real now, and I'm not. This is crazy. Blah, 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 blah. Get ready. Hoo, 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 hoo. The live looking people are probably like, I can't even watch this.
You're like closing the window.
What a train wreck, really. I can delete you as a, I can delete you as a monitor, Bob. I can remove you. Okay, you ready? You ready for this? There you go. You're in timeout now. All right. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. Oh, man, I don't even know. I just can't. I can't wrap myself around it. This is crazy. I can't even just say like what I say every week. I can't even get past the opening now.
We're regressing.
Are these yours? Yes. This is crazy. All right. Man. Hoo-ha. Hoo-ha-ha-ha. All right. I know we went from having like the full intro to now we're back at square one. We should just kept that. We should just kept it. All right. Here we go. If I can't get it this time, you might have to do it. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coaster Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. This is episode number 60, the week of February 17th. My name is James Barber.
And I'm Bob Mertz.
And this is an exciting filled podcast, Bob, because something that we've been talking about for a while, or me and you have been talking about for a while, and we finally released it the last week, was that we are doing a polling system or a bracket where we are trying to figure out the best roller coaster year of all time. So this may be the most historically significant roller coaster year, which actually had the best roller coasters. You know, some people will say like 2018 was a great year of coasters because it had, Steel Vengeance and blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to actually figure out how many people are going to take into account the historical significance, take into account the best rides, whatever. And we're going to see, we're throwing them in there. We've done the first round, and we're going to discuss those results all in the break run of this week's episode. But it's an exciting thing to see how people view the years that some of these roller coasters opened.
Yeah, and looking over the results that we have so far, it's kind of interesting. It seems like there's a couple times where I'm like, yeah, everybody just picked that year because of this coaster. But there's some years that you could tell people actually really thought about it, and the results weren't as clear as you thought they might be. So it's really interesting the things that the people voted for, and it wasn't all just modern stuff too. People actually looked back to the
olden days,
and way back then.
Back to the Future. I'm just kidding. Yeah, and that's true, and I think it's interesting that we actually did have some upsets. I was expecting when we created this that a lot of people would just pick the higher seeded year. I didn't know if people would actually dig and look at and see what opened that year, if they were just going to look at the year's like seed and just be like, oh, that's ranked higher, so I'm just going to go with that. And it's interesting to see the people actually. I mean, there was a couple times when, and you'll see that when we release these results in a little bit and talk about them, that there was a good amount of rides and years, that did not win that we thought would win, or that we thought should win, like me and Bob personally, but then you guys voted on and completely, had it leaning the other way that we didn't think it would go. So it's interesting. We had a couple of upsets, which is exciting, and I'm excited to really see how this turns out. I'm really excited to when we narrow it down like the top two. There's so many good years that Coaster's open, so I'm really curious to see what comes out victorious.
Yeah, and I'm really excited that we have an excuse to talk about more than just what's coming in the off season. Like we can actually talk about those old fun coasters as well.
Yeah.
This gives us an opportunity to just talk about everything, all of the coasters, no matter how old they are. Because usually in the off season, it's just like, oh, I'm so excited for this coming. I'm so excited for this coming, and people forget about the past. Mm-hmm. And I think in the roller coaster industry, I think the past is extremely important,
crucial. It's a crucial part of the coaster community, and the coaster industry. So that's coming up in the Break Run episode. But of course, if you've been listening to Coaster Talk for a while, you know that we start off each and every episode with the segment we call Attraction News. That's good. That was better. And coincidentally, we recorded. It was 3 minutes and 25 seconds. So that's a lucky number for me.
Sweet.
Fury 325. All right.
We could say our intro is 325 feet tall.
It's a giga.
Yeah.
Our intro is a giga.
We have a giga intro.
No other podcast can claim that. All right, so we're going to jump right in. All right. So Kennywood, just a short while after Palace Entertainment has gotten a new CEO, Kennywood has now announced that their general manager and their marketing director is stepping down as well. So they just got a new COO, and Palace Entertainment just got a new COO, and now Kennywood has released. So it looks like there's a lot of big changes occurring within the Park Reina dos chain and within Palace Entertainment. This is a very exciting. I don't know what's to come. I'm sure for Kennywood it's not exciting. I'm sure it's kind of scary. They're probably wondering what's going on higher ups, but it's an interesting time to see what's happening. A lot of rumors have been speculating around that it could possibly be like a Six Flags buyout. I don't know how likely that is, but that's just the coaster enthusiast community having some sort of idea and some sort of input. I've heard a lot of Six Flags Kennywood rumors. But yeah, this is an exciting event to be occurring because we've seen a lot of changes. I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the COO coming, and we were like, what is going to be happening? What are the new changes coming? Now that we're seeing, two major key executives in the Kennywood park itself step down, that definitely shows that some sort of change is definitely going to be occurring. There's no way there's not. It's just to what extent at this point is that we're going to see. It's going to be an interesting couple of years for Kennywood, for Palace, and for Parques and Renados in general.
It's kind of a little bit scary too, the fact that the GM had been there for 40 years, and that means he went through the Parkways takeover.
Yeah.
And he was okay with that, and it seems like all of a sudden now something happened that he's like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just him, but there was also the marketing director as well.
Yeah, because this had not been announced. These two retirements had not been really announced, so this is pretty unexpected. Yeah, well,
that's the thing. They're not retirements because the company would, believe me, if they were retiring, the company would make sure to say that because that would put an end to all the speculation of why did they leave.
Well, yeah, their absence from the company, their leave of absence is completely it's not been announced, so it is a big shock to a lot of people that this
the reason hasn't been announced.
Yeah,
it's been announced that they've left, but
we probably won't get a reason.
I don't know what to make of this, and it's kind of it's kind of scary for me. It's kind of interesting too, is like what we saw last year. One of the things that has specifically with Kennywood, but other parks as well. I know Lake Compounds is a similar situation. It's like Parkways came in and they owned it, but they kind of kept their hands off to an extent.
Yeah.
But we really started seeing last year was like it seemed like they were trying to get more hands on with the of all things, the cheese incident and then the Heinz ketchup incident.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, people at the park or, the people that work at the park are like, I'm sure they were standing there saying, no, you can't just change Heinz ketchup. Like, that doesn't work in Pittsburgh. You can't do this. And they didn't care. They just went ahead with it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like it makes me wonder: is there something coming that's even more like it's going to be bigger than the Heinz ketchup incident? I
Yeah.
hope not. I hope this is just a difference of opinion. I hope we don't see Six Flags Kennywood, because for all the all the frustration that Parkways has been with Kennywood, Six Flags as a whole generally doesn't respect the history, and Kennywood, that's a vital part there.
And it's curious enough to because they still have yet to finish Steelers country, so I have no doubt they're going to finish that, in time for. I don't think
I'm
anything.
sure
I don't think anything's going to happen before then. But I'm just saying it is interesting. What would the future of Kennywood look like? Would that be maintained if Six Flags obtained them, or what would happen with? Would they have to retheme the Steeler skirt? Because I don't know how. I believe the deal was between Parques Reunidos and the actual
and then the
Steelers
thing is, there's
organization.
also this like it had Palace Entertainment has always been this like little, I don't know, there hasn't really been much to Palace other than it seemed like media outlets would use Palace Entertainment to kind of obscure the fact that the park is owned by a Spanish company. But now it seems like Palace Entertainment is getting more bite, more people there, and they're bulking it up. So in some regards, like I wonder if we could actually see Palace Entertainment actually break away from Parkways,
That would be cool.
and become its own company,
That would be very
which
cool.
that might be a decent idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting.
But
The
I believe Palace owns like a good amount of parks, so I mean that would be really cool to see because I believe it's like 7 or 8 parks in the United States that they own and operate, water parks and theme parks.
Yeah,
So
there's quite a few.
yeah,
I can't name them all. I know there's one in California. I know they have lake compounds.
yeah,
They have the Pennsylvania. It's Kennywood, Sandcastle, Idlewild, Dutch
yep,
Wonderland. Um,
yep. Yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot there, so it would be very cool to see them break away if that is all possible.
yeah.
I don't know how
That
that works with parkways or anything. If that would be eligible to break away or what, but it'd be
it
interesting
would
to
probably
see.
end up being they would get an investor to actually buy themselves out, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't know if they would rebrand themselves or what would happen there, but it would be interesting because I don't know if they'd again I don't know if Palace and how much affiliated Palace um and Parques are. I mean, it might be like Parques literally owns like the name and everything like that. I mean, I know they do, but I'm saying like if they would be eligible to take that name and everything like that, if they'd have to rebrand or what. That would be interesting to see.
Even if they would rebrand, I mean, they couldn't. I don't think they like when they would if they would buy it, they would buy the rights to the IPs that those parks
Yeah,
own.
yeah,
I would imagine that those would go along.
yeah. I'm sure that.
Um, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I really hope. I mean, the thing that scares me is there's the fact that Six Flags made an attempt at buying Cedar Fair kind
Mhm.
of makes me feel like they're looking for something.
Mhm.
Um, but we'll get to some other news that might actually kind of hold back on that. Six Flags is probably the least of all the chains possible. That's the chain I do not want to see, take something like this over.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to see Cedar Fair either.
Mhm.
With the way they've been recently. Um, I really hope that this doesn't mean something like that, and I hope that the parks remain pretty much intact. I would love to see if we got some more rides out of it. They better theming,
Mhm.
even a reversion back to some of the historical aspects of it.
Yeah.
Um, it would be good, but I fear that the history may not be as much on the horizon solely because of these people stepping down. I just kind of have this like gut feeling that says there's something that's kind of it may threaten the history. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's purely my opinion, my gut feeling that I have nothing to base that on.
Yeah, and it seems. I mean, it seems like Kennywood has been going in more the direction. I mean, Kennywood because of Parques and because of Palace has gone in the more direction of, you know, new commercial things like the Steelers and stuff like that. Thomastown, it hasn't been like historical or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that would make it's. I think it's a pretty well grounded assumption that would be kind of the direction they continue to go in, and
Yeah.
especially with a lot of not even these. Like I don't know how you said the general manager been there 4 years, so it's not like they hadn't been there a long time. So it's not like they were connected to the roots of or anything like that either. But
Right. Yeah. If these were people that had just been, just joined the company in 2007 when Parkways took over the operation, then that'd be a different story. But these people were around for Kennywood Entertainment Company.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the marketing director, but I know the GM had been there for 40 years. So
Okay.
he had worked with Kennywood Entertainment Company.
All right. Yeah.
So that's definitely somebody that was grounded more in the roots of Kennywood.
Exactly. Well, that's that. Yeah. So then he's been there 40 years. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some sort of clashing there, I think. And it definitely was not just a regular old retirement or leaving the company or anything like that. Yeah, so interesting to see. We'll try to keep you guys up to date on that. We'll see what comes out of that, if anything at all. But yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff there happening at Kennywood.
The good news is it wasn't an announcement like Anka Park made.
Yeah, that was yeah. So government-funded park in Turkey, which is Anka Park, opened in March of 2019. They had an investment of $750 million, and now everything is closed. Even you really wrote this kind of weird, Bob. Sorry, that's my fault. You kind of like wrote it strangely.
A government-funded park in Turkey that opened in March.
I didn't really want to read it word for word, but I was trying to like follow along, and then it like went back. Has now closed many rides. Has now closed before many rides were even operational. I don't think that's correct English, but yeah. All right, I'm just gonna start back where you were at. Where you said, but not bad for Anka Park.
The good news is it wasn't an announcement like Anka Park made.
All right, so I'm just gonna read everything you wrote. All right, you ready?
Yep.
That was. I just screwed it up. I started playing your audio. I just screwed. All right.
Don't drink and drive, folks.
Mm-hmm. Don't drink and do a podcast about roller coasters. Yes, Anka Park, a park in Turkey, has now closed after many rides are even operational. This had been a $750 investment, and this was a completely government-funded park. So the Turkish president had opened the park in March, which he had ignored a couple of safety concerns due to a fear that his party could lose the election. But the park construction was launched by the former mayor of Ankara years prior. So I don't know if I pronounced that right, but again, normally when we do European things, we say, I like to put the little asterisk. This is the Coaster Talk translation of that word. I don't know how well that translates out to whatever to Turkish, but Ankara, I'm pretty sure is along the lines of that.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, there's a reason why I didn't type the former mayor's name, because I didn't even know how to type. Like, the keys aren't on my keyboard for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but this is interesting stuff here. This park had, I believe, it had been open since March, and they'd actually opened it, and like no one was coming in to the park. Is that exactly what happened? Because I was reading up on it.
And they even slashed the ticket prices.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy. They dropped it significantly. I don't know what it is. Is it I don't know what it is about. I don't know what's going on in Turkey that you wouldn't want to go out to a theme park or anything like that. I don't know if it's.
I think I don't know. I think a lot of it may have something to do with the safety concerns. Some of it may just be it may be political.
Maybe.
I'm not really sure. Maybe. But this whole thing, I remember when this park was announced, people were like, there were people taking bets on how long it would be before the park fell apart and closed. I don't even think that people predicted this quickly, though. I mean, the fact that I know some of the issues were rides weren't operational. I mean, you look at what we're seeing in the States with, and this is not an indication of anything. Don't read into this, me using this as an example, but right now, American Dream, there's people that aren't going to the park because they're waiting for that final coaster to be completed. So that, that may have been some of why people weren't going to Anka Park, because it wasn't just one coaster. There were multiple coasters there that weren't operational. And then the main coaster, and I don't know which ones were open, which ones weren't, but the one coaster, I think it was on opening day or opening week, actually broke down and people had to be evac'd off the lift hill, and it hadn't operated since then. So it was like it seemed like there were a lot of corners being cut, and I think people were like, well, I'm not going to go to the park until it's open, or until more of the
Yeah.
rides are open.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. It just seemed like a disaster to begin with.
but looking at this park, I mean, it had some pretty solid. I mean, at 17 roller coasters, that's pretty crazy. I didn't. That's pretty. I mean, it's a pretty nice park. That's surprising that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a major investment, and they really, I mean, they really wanted to attract these people to it, and in some ways, I think maybe they would have succeeded. I think you just kind of you can't just drop 17 roller coasters there and say, oh, we're open for business. Like from a financial standpoint, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, you have
It's
to
kind
look
of
at you have to
hard
look at
to.
analytics and everything like that. You have to know where people are going to travel to and stuff like that. Um, yeah, but this
Yeah,
is
I mean, people
interesting.
aren't gonna like. It's like people don't really know about the park yet, and all of a sudden there's 17 roller coasters there. People aren't going to change things over something that's brand new. That's why you slowly build it. Add a roller coaster a year for 17 years or something like. I mean, even that is, you know, ridiculously fast.
But that being said, this has worked extremely well in Europe and Poland. Actually, Energylandia they did this exact same thing, and they dropped down about 15 roller coasters. And I mean that park's a huge success. Now they open up Zadra. They're opening up what is it, a Mac like multi-launch coaster next year. I mean it works. I don't know. This one
But a
just
lot.
this
It's
just
my
doesn't.
understanding that a lot of the things with Energylandia, there were the numbers were the same, but the investment wasn't. It was more like the number of coasters was there, but it wasn't as major coasters. Like Anka Park was like dropping multiple, not all hyper coasters, but like that magnitude of ride. 17 of them at one point. Like this would be what Six Flags did to Geauga Lake multiplied by like five or six, something like that. I mean, it just you can't just expand like that.
Yeah, and with Energylandia, I don't think it was as many coasters. I think they have like 12 or 13. But I'm looking here. The Wonderland this was called Anka Park, and then it transferred over to Wonderland Eurasia for a little bit. I don't know. They have an Intamin Megalite too. That's pretty interesting. This is an interesting collection. They had SBF Spinner. They had a couple other. It looked like mainly family coasters, but they did have a couple of large scale rides, which is interesting. This is a very interesting park there. But with
Yeah.
Energylandia, I believe they did. I believe they did actually have a. They did open up with a couple of major rides like this. So I don't know why that was a success. Maybe again, maybe they looked at analytics. Maybe they were a lot more safe with what they did and stuff like that. But Energylandia opened up with some. It had a boomerang coaster. It had a couple of extreme coasters, multi loopers. Hyperion opened a couple years after the park opened. But I believe Energylandia opened in 2014, and it kind of gradually made its way to that. I think like every year they added like 2 or 3 coasters.
Right,
So
and that's the thing. You need to get your name there and get people's feet wet
yeah,
before you can expect to start supporting, this massive
but
coaster.
it seems that outside the U.S. that a lot of companies and a lot of countries are going in the direction of like government funded theme parks, which is interesting because I would not be obliged to that at all. I mean you look at Energylandia, they're gonna have 17 roller coasters by next year. They're adding Abyssus, which is a Mack Thrill spinning coaster, and then next year they're adding as well a Vekoma Mine Train, a new generation Vekoma Mine Train. So I mean, if every year they add 2 or 3 coasters, I mean I would not be obliged at all to having all these government funded parks. So yeah, this one was a downfall. This one didn't work out well. I again don't know how well. I don't know like what the analytics are for Turkey if they have a good theme park revenue normally or what, but
Yeah, I'm not
maybe
sure of that
maybe
either.
maybe there were some safety concerns that people were having and didn't want to
I
go.
think that's the.
But I feel like even then, well, I believe that ride that completely collapsed a couple of years back, like it was a pendulum ride that completely collapsed. That was in Turkey, I believe. So maybe that has aroused some people. So a lot of people are feeling a lot more disconcerted with, or not disconcerted, a lot more concerned with the safety of theme parks. Maybe that has changed a lot of people's opinions in that, because that is kind of a somewhat. It's not really. I wouldn't call it a third world country, but it's not a first world. So it is. A lot of people might be like anti theme park now that occurred. So a lot of people might have that mindset that all theme parks are unsafe, and maybe that has played into somewhat.
I think more of it was just that it. I mean, a lot of the park just wasn't operational,
Yeah, that could
and
be.
that combine that with the safety concerns, and I think there's probably a lot of politics involved here as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that as well. Because again, this is a very it's not a it's not a first world country, so it's not a lot of
I
there's a lot
mean, you
of
could just tell by
bad things
the way
happening.
that the way the news carried as you looked through as all of this was going on. It was like, I mean, the whole reason why the president opened this park when he did before everything was finalized was because he was concerned about the election. So, I mean, that right there just screams political. There's
Yeah,
political stuff at play
there's
here.
their motivation, political motivation. Yeah. Well, that is just definitely an interesting topic of discussion, and I don't know what to think about that, but it is interesting, and it's kind of sucks because it looked like a solid park, for what it was. So
Yeah, I
um,
wonder. I really wonder what's going to happen with it.
I
You
know with
know,
all the
for
rides too. I mean, they had 17 roller coasters. That's crazy. Yeah, and
I mean,
Intamin Mega Light. What did you say?
are you there?
I am there, but you cut out pretty
I
badly
cut
there.
out. You cut out.
You cut out.
I don't know. Something
Just
happened with you. While you were talking, your audio made a weird noise, and then you kind of like
you said
stopped.
maybe, so just start back up with that. Wait, I'm not. I'll
So
tell you one.
maybe,
So just start with say maybe again or whatever, and then you can go. So three, two, one, go.
maybe SeaWorld could fly over there and do some clearance shopping or something.
I
Be
screwed.
nice to see some of
I
those
screwed it up. I
coasters
screwed it up.
here.
I screwed it up. I never stopped my audio. So all right, start that over. Three, two, one, go.
Maybe SeaWorld could fly over there and do some clearance shopping. I mean, some of those I
Yeah,
definitely wouldn't mind seeing at Busch Gardens.
yeah. I would not at all. This Megalite looks really good. Ten
You
inversions.
almost think they would have to sell them to somebody.
Yeah, 10 inversions. 110 feet tall, 3,000 feet long, 55 miles an hour. Intamin Mega Coaster. That sounds like a heck of a lot of fun.
They
Um,
also have a zero. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's crazy.
I'll go ride a zero.
Of course, yeah. This is a great little lineup they had there. So it's unfortunate that this had to happen, sadly. Um, but yeah, so but but yeah. All right, I'm just gonna restart that. Moving on to Cognac Lake. All right.
We could do a
Oh, all right.
transition of, but
I had already started.
did you start already?
Yeah, but it's all right. What were you gonna say?
I'm sorry. Just like for this transition, we could go, well, some good things went to bad, there's some
Uh,
bad things coming to good.
all right, I can try that. But some parks, like Anka Park, have lost a lot of revenue and had to unfortunately close. A smaller park has actually gained in revenue and is now able to do some more track work on their wooden coaster Blue Streak. So this is Cognac Lake Park, which has broken the 1.3 million revenue margin that I guess that's what they wanted to hit. So that is a big figure for them, and
They were actually not even expecting that
they
much,
weren't even which is crazy, which is great. That's great, and you think for such a
yeah.
small park to reach that number is pretty great. So they're gonna refurbish completely the first hill of Blue Streak, which I know a lot of people say is a somewhat of a rougher coaster. So that is definitely very positive. That's very good that they're able to do that now.
Yeah, it's Conyot's really amazing in a lot of ways. I mean, the really honestly, I had not been there in I think it was 2014 or 2015, and my dad and I both were like we both had never, despite growing up in Pittsburgh, neither of us had actually been there and rode Blue Streak, and we both saw, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. This park's going to go. We need to get up there. And I mean, we were kind of expecting it to go away. Not what we wanted, but things looked really, really, really
Yeah,
bad. Um, they declared bankruptcy in December of 2014, and they have completely turned things around. They've completely all of their back taxes they were able to pay off. They're paying back the creditors. This revenue is just increasing, and they're putting there's just the thing about Conneaut is it's really, really small. It's hard to justify a single trip just to go to Conneaut. It is a good park to combine with Waldameer, though, just for anybody planning trips. But the thing about Conneaut is there's a bunch of volunteers. There's a bunch of people behind it. And it's people that are really passionate about keeping this park alive.
Yeah.
And they also have this like huge, like they put a lot of investment into like vintage rides. So I think this is going to be another place kind of like Knoebels, that we'll see some of these rides that you just don't see anywhere anymore. And I think they have the means to really take care of it and the desire to really take care of those where, most of the mainstream parks just don't want to deal with that type of thing. It's something that these places kind of thrive on.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they'd said in the article that I was reading that like most of their support had been coming from like Youngstown, Ohio, Pittsburgh, far away. But they said that this year was the first year that they saw Meadville and then the local community actually really starting to believe in the park again. So I think we're really starting to see a really good time for Conneaut Lake ahead, and I think we're going to see some pretty neat things coming out of there.
Yeah, that's great, and it's a great thing that many small parks do. That again, I'm going to restate what you stated. A lot of the big parks do not do is continue to work on their older attractions, and that's something that I think is definitely necessary. A lot of parks just leave them out to rot, kind of. And this is a park that does not seem to be doing that. And it's great that this park's turned around so much, as you said. This could definitely be a good little family park up there. And I know a lot of people in Pittsburgh I had been talking to had actually gone up to Conneaut, but as you're saying, the local community hasn't flourished up there as well. So it is very good to hear that they're returning. The local community is returning and making an appearance once more at a park where that is kind of with small parks, that is the vital that the community around it continues to drive in. Parks like Disney and stuff like that, they don't care about the local. They want people come out of state, out of country. They don't care. This is definitely the exact opposite of that. You want the people nearby to continue to come to your park and continue to build the revenue, and that's what they've done, and that's great, and that's a good thing for Conneaut Lake Park. So moving on to Cedar Point, another park where the out of state is probably higher revenue than the in state. They're bringing back Millennium Force to the Fast Lane Plus system. So I guess for a while that had not been included on that. I've never gotten Fast Lane Plus at Cedar Point. Not too aware of it. I've gotten Fast Lane, but
it had been the regular Fast Lane, which is like
the one you're done kind of thing.
Just not it's been the like the rides that like aren't super super crowded. It's kind of like all the small coasters. Millennium Force had been in that category, but all of a sudden this year they switched Millennium Force for Valravn. So Valravn now is on the normal Fast Lane. And to use Fast Lane on Millennium Force, you now have to buy the more expensive Fast Lane Plus, which I find this really, really interesting. I mean, obviously, like parks can shift these things around a lot, but this coaster is 20 years old. For them to be making a decision to move this back to Fast Lane Plus, it's I don't know. It's kind of perplexing.
Yeah, it is. It's strange that It's strange that it wasn't on it in the first place. But now they realize, I guess. I mean that having that on there is going to make them a lot more money. Because I know for one thing, when I go to Cedar Point, Millennium Force has one of the longest lines in the park. So now people are going to be forced to buy that more expensive line cutter system if they want to be able to not wait that long. Because I know when I went, it was getting 2-3 hour lines, and I wasn't. Other coasters wouldn't be that bad. Top Thrill Dragster, Gatekeeper, they'd have like an hour and a half, and then Millennium Force would be like 2-3 hours. It would get packed there. So that is interesting that they never had done that before.
I generally go on less crowded days, And it's kind of interesting that what I experienced is actually the inverse. Top Thrill Dragster would have longer lines, and Millennium Force really wouldn't have that long of a line. But the other interesting thing about Millennium Force is their fast lane entrance doesn't bypass all of the line. There's
Yeah,
that
that.
bridge, the line goes across that bridge,
Yeah.
and the merge point is before the bridge. So even on the days that I was there, like using Fastlane only saved you like 10 minutes out of maybe the 30 or 40-minute wait that
Yeah,
it
and I think
was.
that's. I remember that as well, and I thought that was a terrible idea. So, thinking back on that, that's kind of a. It's kind of a scam almost.
Yeah,
You're
so
really not cutting much of a line. I remember that now.
yeah,
You're cutting like the you have like the horse pens, and then you have the actual queue like that extends up to the entrance, and you're basically just cutting like the horse. You're not cutting anything else other than that, like the those little like turnstiles. Everything. And then there's like that long stretch to the actual queue, and that's
yeah,
not that's where
and
Fastlane
that's where the
cuts
bulk
in.
of the line is.
Exactly, and that's kind of
And
crazy actually.
that's the thing. That's why this is so perplexing to me. Is it doesn't seem like this is. I don't know. This just doesn't make sense to me. It's almost like they're for some reason expecting a huge
Turnout, yeah.
turnout from Millennium Force, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
You
and
know, hope
I even remember
I hope they're
Valraven.
not announcing that they're going to be closing it.
Oh God, I don't think so. But I even remember Valraven having somewhat of a long line when I went to Cedar Point. So that always had the longer line, and that had the better fast queue system. I think they honestly are trying to scam somewhat of people. It's not a scam. I mean, it is a scam. I mean, this whole thing, paying parks for stuff is kind of a scam in general, if you really get down to the nitty gritty of it. But um, not they're trying to make the most money, to make the most profit, and I think they're definitely seeing this as an opportunity to do that. Especially because with Millennium Force now, like we said, you're not really cutting the line. You're cutting like half of it. If the line is like 2 hours, you might be still having to wait an hour. So it's not really a beneficial thing.
Yeah,
So you're gonna get
I
all these
can
people
see them
buying it.
adding. It's just perplexing to me that they're swapping it with Valraven. Like if
Yeah, it is
Valraven
strange as
stayed
well.
Fastlane Plus and they just moved Millennium Force to Fastlane Plus, then all right, I'd buy that. But this just I don't know. This is kind of this just really stood out to me. Like I mean, like I said, parks swap these things around all the time based
Yeah,
on different things, but there's something about this swap that just seems peculiar. Like
seems
something's
weird.
just weird.
We have a grudge, and if anything happens, you heard it here first, folks. If
Oh
anything,
God, I
2020 will be the year of Millennium Force's demise. That's our prediction of 2020. Oh
I
God.
hope not.
Oh boy. I hope the guy were wrong. Yeah, I do as well. All right.
I think Top Thrill Dragster will go before Millennium Force goes.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think we have to worry about that, but it like you said, it is kind of a perplexing arrangement of events that unfolded at Cedar Point. So we'll see what comes out of that. But going back to talking about Six Flags a little bit, they are being sued over investors over misrepresentation related to the China parks.
Yeah, this is kind of this is kind of the ongoing saga of Six Flags and China.
Mm-hmm.
The situation here is they've I mean we talked about this on I think it was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
We talked about Six Flags having their dive where the stock
Mm-hmm.
just completely plummeted like a dive coaster.
Yep.
But now there's actually shareholders that they've actually started a class action lawsuit. And the claim is that Six Flags misrepresented and omitted information that related to the Riverside Investment Group, which is the company that was building the China parks. And the allege is that Riverside basically was not doing well at all, while Six Flags continued to tell their shareholders that they actually were very financially stable. and then there was a period where it was all about macroeconomics are a mess in China, but Riverside's like working through them, and they're financially stable. And it it seems to be turning out that they were not in great shape at all. They were basically severely in financial distress, and the main allegation is basically because of all this information that Six Flags had been giving to the investors, they were causing the stock price to, basically be traded at a very inflated price.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically the dive that happened, it was basically the correction. So this is just more in that continuing saga. And that's, like I said earlier, Six Flags had made a move to purchase Cedar Fair,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which Cedar Fair declined, but it kind of showed Six Flags was looking for more opportunities, more things to purchase. But this might change that. I don't think this is going to cause any issues with the existing Six Flags parks. They're going to continue to operate fine. I don't think they're in any kind of danger. But this may change their future investments and, for the next year or two, until all of this stuff gets settled out.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff happening with Six Flags. It's kind of saddening to see someone. I mean, as much as we hate on Six Flags, you never want to see any theme park corporation, hit a financial strife like this. So I hope all is well, especially with Six Flags. We make fun a lot, but
they serve their purpose.
They serve their purpose, and they're a solid chain. I mean, we rag on them, but they've produced some great coasters. They've produced some great experiences for a lot of people. So I obviously not happy about this, but we'll see what comes of that. Again, we'll keep you up to date as well. We always do. So yeah, that's about it for Coaster Talks segment of attraction news. A good amount of things happening in the industry, surprisingly. You'd think in the off season we'd pretty much have nothing to talk about, but there's always something going on. It seems the industry's always turning. There's always something going on, so it's interesting to see.
It never stops.
It never stops. It's interesting because people always tell me, "What do you do when in the winter?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? There's stuff going on all the time." I'm always reading.
We talk about all the drama.
We talk about the financial aspects, the most exciting parts, right? But yeah, I always get those comments like, "What do you guys talk about when it's winter?" And I'm like, I mean, there is stuff always turning in parks. There's construction. There's all this great stuff going on. And we're here to keep you guys up to date on that, even during the off season. So that's about it for attraction news segment. Now we're gonna get more into the fun stuff, because we're gonna get into Coaster Craze, and we're gonna talk about our upcoming theme park plans. Oh, did not want to get into a topic about microeconomics. I can tell you that. Whew, I was not.
What's that?
Talking about microeconomics, I was like, no.
No, I wasn't. I can't talk about that.
Yeah, I thought you were about to, and I'm like, I just heard about that today.
No.
That's cool.
No, I don't think I could sustain a conversation about that.
I don't think I could either. So I was glad.
I like this. Did you see the comment in the chat about Paul Anka Park?
Yeah, that's funny because that's what I was thinking about this entire time. I didn't really realize anyone else liked Paul Anka that much, or even knew of Paul Anka.
I had to Google him. So.
Oh my God! You see, I've seen him in concert, so. I love Paul Anka, one of my favorite musicians. He is tiny. I shook his hand. He was a great guy. He wrote the song "My Way" by Frank Sinatra.
Okay, I know that.
Yeah, he was a great. And you know the song "Puppy Love"? Or "Put Your Head on My Shoulder."
Oh yeah.
He sings that song. That's him. He's a great musician.
Lonely Boy.
Lonely Boy, yeah. I'm just a lonely boy. That's a great song. And he also helped bring the Beatles over to America, so he talked with them. So he's a very influential musician, very good musician.
Did a lot of Elvis Presley stuff, too.
Yeah, he was friends with Elvis. It's surprising to me that someone even mentioned Paul Anka.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at his Wikipedia. Like, he's involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he is a very, very awesome guy. I also saw Tony Bennett the year before that.
You even had an acting career?
Yeah, he did. He was in the movie... with John Wayne. It was like a 1950s war movie.
Wow, it's interesting.
The Longest Day, that film, which is about it's about D-Day, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard about that.
he's in that movie. So we can talk about that pre-recording though. Yeah, I mean it's a great movie. So all right. Now we're talking about the fun stuff. Now I can actually sustain a conversation. You were going on a little bit of rants there. So, all right, you ready?
Yep.
Here we go. So, Bob, we were talking about Joe Mama, and then Joe Mama was like, Joe Mama, and it was pretty great.
Joe Dada? What about Joe Dada?
Wow, this is crazy. I can't. I'm having a tough time starting these. All right, delete. So I know I said earlier that the theme park season was starting March 16th for us here in Virginia. However, I kind of lied a little bit because technically speaking, my theme park season is going to be starting in the next 2 weeks, which is exciting.
Because you're going to cheat.
I'm going to cheat the system and I'm going to go down to Texas and I'm going to go to Fiesta, Texas. And that is, we're talking about our theme park plans in this segment of the show, Coaster Craze. February of 2020, I will be at Fiesta, Texas. I'll also be at ZDT's amusement park, most likely riding Switchback, which is the I want to ride Switchback. I know, I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm also going to go to SeaWorld San Antonio, and I'm going to ride Texas Stingray, and the other coasters they have to offer there. So it's going to be awesome. Iron Rattler, Superman, Switchback, Texas Stingray. It's going to be a great couple of days there. I'm really looking forward to that. And that was kind of unexpected. We were up at Hershey Park, and they offered free tickets to Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and then they were like, we're also having an ACE event, and you're going to get ERT for an hour and a half on every roller coaster in the park at Fiesta Texas. And I'm like, wow. And we had already scheduled a flight. We were supposed to go to Six Flags Great America earlier in 2019, and we had to reschedule that flight. So it just been kind of sitting there, and I was like, hey, we can just go to Texas that weekend. We already have the flight, and we can just rebook it to Texas. And so we did, and now I'm going to Texas. So it's exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to all these coasters. It's going to be a great couple of days there. Look to the YouTube channel and look to social media. I will be posting a lot on there. And then, of course, we'll have an episode where I'll discuss what I did and everything like that, because that's a pretty nice event that we're going to. But yeah, that's my February theme park plans, which is exciting. I never really thought I'd be saying that. I never thought I'd be saying February theme park plans, but I am now because of this awesome trip I get to go down to. And I'm excited because it's going to be warm. I might actually get to wear shorts at a theme park in February, which is kind of weird to think about.
I'm extremely jealous.
I'm excited, but I'm also excited for Busch Gardens Williamsburg opening day in March, which is an event that I will be attending, and also Bob as well. That's going to be exciting. I know Pantheon's not going to be opening. We're not expecting that at all, but I am excited to get up and close with it. I'm sure hopefully Fiesta Italia will be open when we go, so we get to go in that area. I would really suck if we got there and they're like, yeah, Fiesta Texas is closed due to Pantheon construction, and we don't get to go up and get close with Pantheon and see what's going on, because it'll be pretty close to completion by then.
I don't think they'd be closed because they're going to be moving mostly into the phase of testing and more of the small stuff.
Well, they might close it more on the account of they don't want people messing around and seeing what's going on. They want to keep it a secret. Or maybe they'll close off just that one little section, like they'll close off, like they'll have it gated off by Roman Rapids and stuff like that.
No, I think by this point they'll want to hype it up.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have like signs and stuff like that. I just don't know if they're gonna actually want people up at like the entrance of the ride, where because you'll cross over that bridge and then you'll go to Pantheon right over there. After you'll go over to Roman Rapids, you'll cross the bridge and then you'll be at Pantheon. So I don't know at what point they're gonna have to close it off somewhere. So I'm curious to see if they close off the entire section. I know they closed like the train in Roman Rapids last year during construction, so I don't know if they're gonna do that again this year. Starting it off on opening day or what, but we shall see.
Yeah, those maybe. But I mean, they can't close the whole section because you can't close Apollo Chariot and Tempesto.
Yeah, I'm sure they
On
won't. On opening
that would
day
be
too. Yeah,
that would be tragic.
it would be very upsetting. But that is, I'm really excited to get up and close and personal with that because that's most likely going to be opening in the March to April time frame. So we'll be very excited to see what's going on with that. And then in April, I am going to be most likely attending Kings. Well, I'm not most likely. I will be attending Kings Island Orion's Media Day, which is the Giga Coaster for 2021. And Bob, or I said
I will
2021.
not because I was sleeping.
Bob did not. I don't think he understood that it would close that soon either. So I
Who
mean,
knew?
it
I don't
opened.
think anybody saw it closing that soon.
I mean, I made sure to sign up pretty quickly because I know Coaster Stock had sold out, and I was like, this is a pretty big thing. So
Well, yeah, but this was eight like this is one coaster. Like this isn't like I don't know. I mean, Twisted Timbers Media Day was like open for like a month.
yeah, I don't know. Kings Island seems to get a big turnout for these type of events. So I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I knew this point was going to come. I didn't think it was going to come in an hour and a half.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was crazy. I'm fortunate enough to have gotten it signed up in time, but you'll still be there most likely for that weekend. So that's still
Yeah, I'm hoping to
great.
get there for pass holder preview day.
Yeah, Passover Preview Day. So I am dreadfully looking forward to this. I cannot wait to get on this ride. I haven't been to Kings Island since 2017, so it's been 3 years now. So it's going to be exciting to get back up there and ride some of my favorites because, I mean, Banshee, Diamondback, Mystic Timbers, Beast. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get a Beast Night ride again. It's been so long. So it's going to be exciting to get back down there. And then in April, of course, I do this every year. I've been doing this for 3 years now. Carowinds Camp Out. I'm going to be attending that event with one of my friends. So that's going to be a very exciting event. I love getting ERT on Fury, and we got ERT on Copperhead Strike last year. I got about 25 rides on that, so it was great. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. In addition to what you said, I'm also actually in just a couple of weeks, I'm going to be headed up to Pittsburgh for Coaster Bash 31, which is an off-season event, but it's one that I enjoy. It's kind of cool because I actually go with my dad, and actually this year my mom's going to go as well. So it's just kind of a nice time for me to spend with my parents. But it's a fun event because you get a lot of the Waldemere comes down, Conneaut Lake comes down, Kennywood of course is there, and this year they're actually I believe there's going to be somebody there from a ride vendor that is actually going to be talking about what the fate of Lakemont Park's rides were. I'm hoping that
Ooh.
I'm hoping it's good news and it's like, oh yeah, Canova's bought half of them. I mean, no, that's not.
Yeah.
But like, I do want to know a couple of those rides. One of the rides I really want to know about is Skydiver. I really want to know what happened to that ride.
Yeah.
I loved that ride, and you can't find that ride anywhere. It was the only place I knew that had one. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll also probably go to Kings Island's opening day, whenever that ends up being. Usually I think it's in March, to go walk around and look at all the coasters that are closed. Not just the defunct ones, but the ones that they just haven't managed to get running for the year yet, which be the case.
Hopefully that's not the case this year.
I hope not. I mean, they have less to get running, so
Yeah.
hopefully they can focus on actually having stuff running for opening day this year.
Well, it's going to be sad to see the remnants of Vortex as well. That's going to be kind of...
Oh, yeah, Kings Island.
We had to do this last year with Kings Dominion. Now we got to redo it with Kings Dominion this year. Kings Island this year. So hopefully...
I wonder if there's going to be any remnants of Crypt there.
Oh,
or if it's going to be just all paved over.
I also forgot to mention Kings Dominion opening day, but I don't know if I'll be getting down to there for that. So we have yet to see that. But
yeah, that's what I was talking about. Isn't that what I said?
You said Kings Island, but
I did not mean Kings Island's opening day. I meant Kings Dominion's opening day.
Okay, well, yeah. Either way, either or, they're the same thing, kind of.
Yeah. Well, Kings Island actually, I'm sure, has most of the rides running. Kings Dominion is one that has the history of not having a lot of the rides running for opening day.
Yeah, Kings Dominion does a poor job, and that makes more sense now in context of what you're saying. So, yeah, I mean, this is an exciting time for us, and it's the beginning of the 2020 season. It's finally upon us, and even I'm really looking forward to Fiesta Texas. I have a couple of we're going to be doing As soon as I get back, I'm gonna be doing reviews of Iron Rattler on the YouTube channel, reviews of Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster. I'm gonna be getting lots of footage at the park. I'm gonna be doing a lot of good stuff. So if you want to check out the YouTube channel as well, it's Coaster Talk Podcast on YouTube. So that's gonna be exciting stuff there. Some good content, and then of course we'll have some fun stuff to talk about on the podcast with Bob going to Coaster Bash and me going to Fiesta Texas. There'll be a fun-filled show there for sure. But we have yet to get to the bulk of this episode because we have a lot to talk about in this next segment. Normally the break run is the shorter segment of the show. We just quickly talk about what had been the weekly poll of last week, but this week, of course, I mentioned in the beginning that we are doing the results of the Battle of the Ages, the bracket that we had done to figure out the best coaster year of all time. So we're going to do that now in the segment we call the break run. Shoot, I forgot we had to do that. We still have a long way to go. Whew.
Yeah.
Are you ready, kids? If you'd listen to SpongeBob, you'd understand that reference, but you don't, so... Oh boy, are you ready? I'm not ready.
As ready as I'll ever be.
We're gonna have to this could go on for 4 hours if we want to. We gotta make this. Let's try to keep this under 30, 45 minutes, all right? So the episode's not crazy long. All right. Here we go. All right, Bob, are you ready for the Battle of the Ages, the first ever bracket that I know of to determine the best roller coaster year of all time?
I was born ready.
All right, so starting off the bracket, we had the region of the 2000s and the 1950s. So we chose those 2 years to be kind of the two competitors of that year. We didn't follow through with every year, it wasn't every year 2000 versus a 1950 year, but it was. All those years, it was always between the margin of 2000 to 2010, or 2009 to 1950 to 1959. So the first poll, or the first matchup we had was 2000 versus 1950. So this is the 1 seed, 2000 versus the 16 seed, 1950. And the 1 seed demolished 1950. 1950 had, just been I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. As you can see, Bob, you can try to pronounce that if you want. But it was Hatschelschanabahn at Wiener Prater, which is one of the only roller coasters left in the world to operate with an onboard brakeman. That was pretty cool, but it did not surpass 2000, which we saw Millennium Force, which is the first full circuit roller coaster to go more than 300 feet tall, and Superman the Ride, which is it's considered one of the best hyper coasters out there, and it consistently ranks as one of the best steel coasters in the world. That year, demolished. We had a huge turnout for number 1, 2000. So that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, this is kind of what I expected too. Just huge things. Son of Beast was also opened in 2000. That was another huge game changer. And forget the legacy. We could debate that forever.
Yeah.
It was a huge opening, and it definitely changed the face of the coaster industry.
Indeed. All right, so moving on to I would say this is the first kind of somewhat upset of the bracket. We're pretty. We just started, and we're already getting into the first upset. We had seeded 2004 as the 8 seed and 2005 as the 9 seed. 2004 had Stormrunner at Hershey Park, Revenge of the Mummy, and Thunderhead at Dollywood, which are all 3 solid coasters. And I know a couple of more, but those were the 3 major ones that we wanted to highlight. However, 2005. Yeah, there were a lot. And 2005 had Hades, 360, Hydra the Revenge, and Shikra at Busch Gardens Tampa. And 2005 took the cup. People voted on that. I can understand why we see Hades 360 is a huge thing. It was one of the first wooden roller coasters to operate with a 0G roll. So that's really crazy. I think the first to operate with a 0G roll. One of the first to operate with an inversion. I know we'd had a couple before that, but this is one of the first. It was a big deal. And it gets a lot of positive feedback from the enthusiast community. Hydra the Revenge is often considered one of the better B&M floorless coasters, and then Shikra was the U.S.'s first dive coaster, so that's pretty significant. And these are pretty relatively close. That's why they're the 8 and 9 seeds. So it wasn't too big of an upset, but it was somewhat of an upset because we had not seeded 2005 higher than 2004.
The one coaster you didn't mention about 2005 that I think may have changed some things was Kingda Ka.
Yes, indeed, as well. I hadn't announced.
Also,
I didn't put that on
Madbus
there.
Sun Coaster, Space Mountain at Disneyland,
Yeah,
Powder Keg.
I only
There,
put.
there were actually a lot that year.
Yeah, there were a lot that year, and chose three right there to highlight. Kingda Ka I didn't feel was necessarily one of the bigger rides. I know that was a huge ride in terms
I
of.
no, I agree. I think Top Thrill Dragster was more game changing than Kingda Ka, and I think that was a bit. But I could definitely see people, including that.
Yeah, and a lot of people did say 2005 Kingda Ka. I remember hearing some people say, "Oh yeah, that's the year Kingda Ka opened." So there were some people that felt that was why that deserved the crown. Moving on, number 5 and number 12 seed, we had 2008 versus 1956, which 1956 was the 12, 2008 was the 5. 2005, we had Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldameer. We had Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. And we had T Express at Everland, which is in South Korea. So that was a very, very big coaster because it had the steepest drop on the roller coaster in the world. And it is one of the tallest, fastest, and longest in the world. And it's an Intamin prefab, and those are very rare. So that definitely took the cake with this one. No one really voted for. We had 1956 had Sea Dragon, Columbia Zoo and Aquarium, the first roller coaster to be designed by John C. Allen, which is significant. And I think
that is hugely significant.
Yes, it is. And I think a lot of people. I think we actually got a good amount of votes for 1956. I think it was pretty close, but 2008 did take the majority
For
of the
me,
votes.
Ravine Flyer 2 is a big deal. I think.
Yeah.
That was another one of those situations where it's like it's a small park building a huge coaster.
And it's hard because in this case, you really do have to choose between history or between, what produces the better ride. So
and
it's difficult.
I think that's a big that's a big decision in between those 2 years.
And I think if 1956 had produced like 2 or 3 more historically significant roller coasters, or even 2 or 3 more solid roller coasters, there was nothing else of that year. So I think that might be why 5 took it. 12 definitely. I mean, the first coaster designed by John C. Allen's huge, but I think that you have to produce a little bit more than just that in order to win. It was close, but I think 2008 definitely took the majority there because of that.
Yeah, I could definitely see this going either way, so I'm not disappointed in the results at all.
Yeah. So now we're moving on to the 4 and the 13 seed. 4 is 2001, and 13 is 1955. 4 was 2001, and that had Hypersonic XLC, which was King's Dominion. That was the first compressed air launch roller coaster. And then we had Flying Ace Aerial Chase, which is the world's first inverted junior coaster, which you might not think is that big of a deal, but that's pretty significant. And we had X2, which is the world's first 4D coaster, which is fantastic. That's huge. That was a huge game-changing moment in coaster, because we've seen a lot of 4D coasters now. And 1955 was High Speed Roller Coaster, which was Knobel's first roller coaster. So, yeah, I think we can definitely see.
Most of the listeners probably didn't get a chance to ride High Speed Thrill Coaster, but let me tell you, it was a phenomenally fun little ride. It was essentially a kiddie coaster, but you didn't know. Adults, it was very enjoyable. Yeah. But this is another one of those tough years. I think 2001 kind of is a clear winner, though.
Yeah, and I think that's why we had it seated so differently. But it's definitely like that was a pretty significant. It's a pretty significant battle. I was curious to see. We did get another upset. This is a pretty solid upset, I would say. This is a lot bigger than the 8 and the 9 seed. This is one that I was not expecting. We had 2002 versus 2007. So 2002 was the 6 seed. 2007 was the 11 seed. 2002 saw Colossus at Thorpe Park, which was the world's first 10 inversion steel coaster. Superman Ultimate Flight, which is the first B&M flying roller coaster in the United States. And we saw Accelerator, which is a hydraulic motor launch coaster, which is it's a favorite among enthusiasts. A lot of people love that. 11, we saw Mystery Mine, which is the first Eurofighter to be built in the U.S. Maverick, which is the Intamin Blitz coaster at Cedar Point, and Renegade, which is a GCI roller coaster. So it wasn't really historically significant other than the first Eurofighter. I thought 2002 was going to take the cake for sure. I definitely did. But the listeners, I don't know if, again, this might have been the one where they're choosing their favorite ride. Maverick is right there, so that might be a little bit of a...
There's that, I think that may have had something to do with it, but obviously on the little on your Intamin or Intamin, what's on my mind? On your Instagram, you obviously couldn't list all of the coasters, and I think there may have been some people that looked a little bit deeper, and they would have found that Wicked at Lagoon opened, which I think I think that was kind of a big deal in 2007. Um, Firehawk also opened that
Yeah,
year.
but that was a relocation, so
That was a relocation. You're right. I apologize. So that's not as big of a deal.
I don't think
But
Wicked isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it's a launched multi-looping coaster. It's not like
but again, it was one of those a small park doing a huge innovation. Like I think a lot of times when a small park just comes out of nowhere with something like that's a big deal.
I mean, but Laguna's had some pretty major thrill coasters.
Right, and I think they changed the face of the industry a lot of times as well. They don't just like they do it all themselves. They're like, oh, well, how can we push the limits ourselves?
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a park I'm interested in getting out to. So that makes sense. 2007. I still think I
Well,
would have voted.
Griffin also was opened in 2007.
Yeah, that had opened, but that again, Sheikah just opened the year prior, so that wasn't that big of a deal. So I definitely still think I would have chosen 2002, but the viewers have spoken. 2007 is the champion of that matchup. Now we're moving on to the 3 and the 14 seed, which I think actually was pretty well contested. I definitely see why 2006 was the champion versus 2009, the 14 seed, because you have El Toro, you have Voyage, and you have Tatsu. Those are all three of those. Tatsu is the world's tallest, fastest, longest flying coaster. Voyage had the most airtime of any wooden coaster in the world, and it was ranked number one wooden coaster on the planet for like 10 or 15 years or something crazy like that. El Toro was the second tallest wooden coaster in the United States and the fastest wooden coaster in the world when it opened. It makes sense why 2006 won, and there's a reason.
Expedition Everest also opened.
Yeah,
Was the
Expedition
most
Everest. The
expensive
26. It
coaster.
makes sense why 2006 won. There's definitely a reason. But 2009 also has some good coasters. You have Fluke von Novgorod at Hansa Park, which is an enclosed. Well, part of the ride is enclosed, and it's a Eurofighter, which is great. It launches you. It's a launched Eurofighter at Hansa Park in Germany. So I've heard it's a great ride. Diamondback at Kings Island, the tallest, fastest, and the meanest roller coaster to hit Kings Island at the time of opening. I'm pretty sure that was a marketing thing that I just copy and pasted there. It was the meanest coaster at Kings Island. And then Prowler was at Worlds of Fun open that year. So, I mean, it definitely makes sense why 2006 won. No doubt is that a better year, but 2009 was definitely a good, solid year for coasters as well.
I mean, 2009 had Grover's Alpine Express open at Busch Williamsburg.
Wait a
So I
second,
don't know.
what? Oh my God, we have to restart the poll. There's no way. 2009 is the one seed. Yeah. But yeah, all right. So 2006 did overtake 2009. Now we're moving on, and this is these are battles of 1950s. So we have two 1950s coasters, and this one really surprised me. Now these are pretty close in terms of rankings, but I really was not expecting this at all, especially from the community that seems to prefer like the kick butt rides and wasn't taking into the historical significance of rides. But it seems that they definitely chose to take this historical significance this time, because we had 7, which was 1959, which had Coaster at Peony Playland, which is received as one of the it's almost like a mini Phoenix. I've heard. It produces insane ejector airtime and is insane, intense, great ride. We had Wild Mouse at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which was the first major ride to be added to Blackpool Pleasure Beach after World War II. So, and this is one of the only wooden Wild Mouse coasters ever built, which is great. And then Big Dipper at Camden Park was a wooden roller coaster there, and that was a well received roller coaster as well. However, 1958 took the cake with Matterhorn Bobsleds, which was the first tubular tracked steel coaster, and that makes sense. It is a crucial moment in coaster history. I get that, but I really was expecting the audience to go, "Oh, coaster Peony Bayland, that's a huge ride. I'm gonna click that." And I'm kind of glad they didn't. They threw us for a twist there, which is great to see.
Yeah, indeed. I love seeing this. I mean, obviously that was a huge. I mean, if that didn't happen, where would we be?
I don't know. I do not know. It'd be crazy. So yeah, Matterhorn, and that it moves on. And we'll see how far. I mean, that could easily be the most important coaster year of all time. Are we going to see that? Where are we going to see that fall in the bracket? Are people going to start to take more into the historical significance of things? Or are they going to continue? We'll see with the round of 32 coming up. But it's good to see that move on and to prosper into the next round. So now we're on to the very last matchup of the 1950s and 2000 bracket. 2003 versus the 2 seed of 2003 versus the 15 seed 1952. Obviously, the 2 seed took the spot here. I don't think there was any question here because with 2003, you have Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, which was the tallest and fastest roller coaster on Earth when it opened, and it broke so many records, going over 400 feet tall, crazy like that. Balder at Leesburg was the first Intamin prefab in Europe. And then Thunder Dolphin was the largest mega coaster in the was the largest mega coaster in the world, and that had actually been put into a city. I read that it was the largest roller coaster in the world to be placed in a city. So, very significant with Top Thrill Dragster, and then you even have 2 bonus ones with Balder and Thunder Dolphin. So even if you want to say that it wasn't, if you want to talk about historical significance and you want to talk about great rides, you have 3 right there that hit both of those. So this could easily be a contender. Moving on, we had 1952, which had Little Dimper Memphis Kiddie Park, which is the oldest operating steel coaster in North America, which is significant, but I just don't think it is obviously not as powerful enough to surpass the significance that we had with Top the Dragster, Boulder, and Thunder Dolphin.
Yeah, this is one there's nothing more to say than what you already said.
Yeah,
I mean, 2003 is hands down a big year.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how far it goes. It could go really far. Now we're moving on to the 1990s and the 1920s and 30s. So this is another region. So there's 4 regions if you want to wear in this bracket. Just like how if you watch NCAA March Madness, there's the East, West, North, South. We have the 1990s and the 1920s through 30s to discuss now. So the first matchup of that was the 1 seed of 1998 versus the 16 seed of 1935. The 1 seed there obviously took the cake. I think the 1 seeds, we're not going to get many upsets in those anytime soon. So Batman and Robin the Chiller opened that year, which was the first steel dual-track linear induction motor-powered roller coaster. That's a tongue twister. Shivering Timbers was a huge, huge coaster. Technically, it was the first way out and back roller coaster, wooden roller coaster. There had never really been a coaster that went if you look at the Shivering Timbers, you look at how many, it has 18 airtime hills going out and 18 airtime hills coming back. So
I love that. That's one of my favorites.
In Michigan's Adventures, it's claimed that this is the first way out and back wooden coaster because it took a spin on the out and back and went full fledged with it. And then of course Volcano the Blast Coaster, which was the first launched inverted roller coaster opened that year. So that was hugely significant. 16 seed we had the Coaster Thrill Ride at Puyallup Fair, a historical wooden roller coaster. Then we had Grand National Blackpool Pleasure Beach was one of only 3 Mobius Loop roller coasters in the world and the only one in Europe. So it's a good year. It's not a great year, and without a doubt, the 1 seed there, 1998, will win.
Yeah, I think Grand National is a big deal, but the technology. 1998 was a huge year, and I think technology took a huge step too. But the interesting thing about 98 is not only are you pairing it with the technology that's being used in Premiere. Batman and Robin was Premiere, right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
You got Premiere's new technology, you've got Intamin's new technology in Volcano, and then you've got Shivering Timbers, which is like, hey, look what we could do with the old stuff.
Yeah.
It was just such a spectacular year. And those are just, just a few. There were just a lot happened that year.
Yeah. And it's exciting because
Ghost Rider and Great Bear were actually ones that opened that year as well, which are big, big coasters. Not pushing the limits, but they were good.
They're good fillers and they're good supporting, supporting coasters. Yeah.
Mr. Freeze and Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast were also there. That's also game changing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so that was a crucial year in the coaster industry, and it really foresaw what was to come in the future years. So now we're moving on to the 8 and 9 seed. which was 1927 was the 8 seed versus the 9 seed of 1921. 1927, the 8 seed did take the victory, but I don't think it was by I think it was by a very small margin, because this was a very good battle here. I mean, these 2 years could
this is a
easily
tough
swing
one.
either way. You have Cyclone at Luna Park in 1927, which is the most famous roller coaster arguably in the world. And then you have Racer at Kennywood, which is the only Mobius or single continuous tracking roller coaster in the United States. And Wildcat at Lake Compounce is one of the oldest operating coasters is the oldest operating coaster in the state of Connecticut, and one of the oldest in the United States. And then 21, you had Jackrabbit at Kennywood, which is obviously, it's made a name for itself. It's a very famous attraction. And then Roller Coaster at Lagoon, which is one of the most popular rides at Lagoon and is one of the only few wooden roller coasters between Denver and the West Coast. So this is a very tough battle, but 8 did take the victory margin.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I kind of would have leaned more towards 21 because Jackrabbit I think was so significant. But I mean, Kennywood's Racer being the Mobius, I mean that's significant as well, and Cyclone. But can we also talk about the fact that Kennywood had so many coasters opening back then?
Yeah, I mean, they were producing almost every year. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean Kennywood was really that was like their prime almost in the 20s, which is kind of funny. You never think about a park hitting its prime way back when.
Speaking of the 20s, this next one I'm really proud of you for.
Yeah, this is one that I know you'd be proud of. Well, we kind of seeded it this way, so we were kind of hoping that this would be the turnout, but you never know with the enthusiast community, especially with some of the rides that opened that year. So we had the 5 seed 1924 versus the 12 seed of 1993. The 5 seed of 1924 consisted of Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, Thunderbolt at Kennywood, and Thunderhawk at Dorney Park, which are all hugely significant rides, and historically, and Thunderhawk and Thunderbolt, I've not yet to ride Giant Dipper, but I know those 2 rides, Thunderbolt and Thunderhawk, are still very good wooden roller coasters. I still enjoy them a lot. Thunderbolt's one of my favorite wooden coasters. And then the 12 seed 1993 had Canyon Blaster, which was the largest indoor double loop, double corkscrew roller coaster. Oh, I guess maybe this is the 90s might have been the year that they started making up dumb records. The Bat at Kings Island is considered one of the best suspended roller coasters in the world. That opened up that year. And then Kumba, which is at Busch Gardens Tampa, which included at the time, I believe it was the tallest vertical loop in the world, opened up that year. So I was curious to see if people would take the 12 seed as the upset here, but I'm glad they didn't, and they chose to stick with the historical significance of the things.
I thought Kumba might have been the one that took everybody.
Yeah, I did too. I thought people would see
Kumba
that name.
Was actually a big deal.
Yeah, I thought people would see that name and go, "Oh, all right, that's my year. I'm going for that 12 seed. I don't care."
But yeah, I definitely was 424 in this one. I just think it was just a big year. I mean, Giant Dipper's huge. Thunderbolt's still, and Thunderhawk, all 3 of those are just they're still known coasters.
Exactly, and you know that. Therefore, that is a huge. I mean, this is the 20s we're talking about, so this is 100 years. 100 years. That's crazy. So now we're moving on to the next battle, which is the 4 seed of 1994 versus the 13 seed of 1991. In the 1999, the 4 seed took the W on this one. Apollo's Chariot, Dragon Challenge, Tennessee Tornado, and this was actually not a very close battle. I actually would have said, I believe 1999 got like every single vote, which was surprising because I thought we'd see some leeway for 1991 because we saw some pretty significant coasters there too. We saw Steel Phantom, which would later become Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood, Mean Streak, which would later become Steel Vengeance, and Vortex at Cannon Island is often considered one of the better suspended roller coasters in the world. And I love it. It's my favorite suspended roller coaster. So I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd see 1991 maybe pull an upset there. But I'm kind of glad we didn't because Apollo's Chariot is one of my favorites. And I'm glad that year that roller coaster was inducted because that was a big year because it was the first B&M Hyper to ever be built. And I mean, for that to be the first B&M Hyper to ever be built, that ride still runs so good. And it's such a great ride. And I know Dragon Challenge was huge. Very sad when people were very upset by it when it got taken out. Tennessee Tornado is considered to be one of the better aero loopers, one of the best aero loopers and it's one of the last that Arrow would produce. So that was a big year, and I'm glad that 1999 prospered on.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was kind of, I don't know. I personally kind of lean more towards 91 because of Mean Streak pushing the limits and Still Phantom. I mean, the thing with Still Phantom was back at the time you had Cedar Point, who is the bigger corporate park, producing Magnum XL 200, and Kennywood, that's a little small company, like a small park, just says, you know what, we're gonna beat them, and they did. And I think that's a significant thing there. But it is tough because Apollo Chariot being the first B&M hyper. I mean, B&M hypers are my favorite product from B&M by far. So
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
I mean, and that
You had
Ridester one's
Fabio.
fantastic.
I mean, having a bird take Fabio out, that was also a huge deal.
Historically significant by far.
Because everybody still talks about it to this day.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a
Even
big.
people that don't know of Apollo's Chariot know about Fabio.
Yeah, they
being
always say,
able-
"What about Fabio and the roller coaster?" Yeah, that's.
Oh, that was that one.
All right. Well, 1999 did take that W there. It took the win and is moving on to the next round. So we'll see how well it does. 6 is 1925 versus the 11 seed 1992. So that was exciting because we had another upset. And this one makes somewhat sense looking back on it. Big Dipper at Geauga Lake was one of the oldest wooden roller coasters in existence. And then I believe it was 2016, it got demolished. Giant Dipper at Belmont Park was one of the 2 remaining seaside wooden coasters left in the state of California, and it got demolished as well. So we had that at the 6th seed, but the 11th seed of 1992 had Batman the Ride, which was the world's first inverted roller coaster. It had the Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, which is now Iron Rattler, but it was the tallest and fastest wooden roller coaster in the world when it opened up, and it now is Iron Rattler. So I think it makes sense why we saw the 11 seed take the victory here. I can totally see why, and I mean, with the first inverted roller coaster in the world, there's so many now that played a huge crucial role in the turn, and it really was a turning point for roller coasters.
I personally think that Big Dipper was more significant than people realize. Because not only was it's not just, I mean, right now we think, oh, well, it's gone, and it was Geauga Lake, and it was a good ride, and it was old. But the scale of Big Dipper at the time was just massive in comparison to other coasters. And I think that's kind of a big deal. Just there weren't many coasters that were built on that scale. In some ways, I kind of think it might have been like the Shivering Timbers of its time.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. But again, I think first inverted roller coaster is huge, and I don't know you know that, but still, it's just
It is.
And you have the tallest, fastest.
That's a tough one to decide.
Yeah, and the viewers, I believe it was pretty. I think it was. I think we did get a couple hits for 1925, but I think 92 pretty much got through that pretty easily. So yeah, that's that. So now moving on to the 3 seed versus the 14 seed, 1996, which is the 3 seed versus the 1990, which is the 14 seed. 1996 took the victory with Flight of Fear at King's Dominion, which is the first coaster to use a LIM launch system. Wildcat at Hershey Park, which is the first GCI roller coaster, and Fujiyama at Fuji-Q Highland, which it was the world's tallest roller coaster when it opened and had the largest drop in the world, 230 feet when it opened up. So, I mean, that's huge right there. Those 3 rides right there all played huge roles in what we now know as the industry. Fujiyama broke the record of height. I mean, that's a huge deal. Flight of Fear was the first to use a launch system that's now popularly used, or was popularly used, and now it's kind of died down a little bit more. And then Hershey Park with Wildcat, the first GCI roller coaster. GCIs are considered one of the best coasters out there. Some of the best coasters out there are produced.
Industry. Really, the late 90s in general just was a huge push to the industry.
Yeah, it was.
Especially from a technology front.
Yeah.
You had the 80s, the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, where you were pushing boundaries. And then in the late 90s, you had the let's push the technology. And I think the '90s were just a huge deal for the coaster industry.
Yeah, and as we've seen, there's so many good ones, so many good years in the 90s. So now we're moving on to the 7 seed versus the 10 seed, 1994, which is the 7 seed versus the 10 seed in 1995. The 7 seed here has Big One at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which is one of the largest steel coasters in the United Kingdom. Nemesis at Alton Towers, which is consistently voted as one of the best steel coasters in the world. And Desperado at Buffalo Bills Hotel and Casino, which was a record-breaking roller coaster. It was the tallest and fastest in the world when it opened in 94. The 10 seed consisted of Dragon Con at Port Aventura, which is one of the largest looping roller coasters in the world, and Fly the Great Nor'easter, which is considered one of the best Vekoma flying coasters out there. Not flying coasters, that's actually the wrong term. That's a SLC, so whatever.
Yeah.
I made a typo, but it's all right. I think people got the message. That was not really that shocking. Dragon Con and Fly the Great Nor'easter really have no historical significance, nor are they world-renowned coasters. They're fun. They seem great, but I don't think they're relatively named that high. So this one made a lot of sense.
I think Big One made a big statement that, like, Magnum pushed the limits, and everybody says it started the coaster wars, but I think Big One was the statement of we're gonna see it keep going.
Yeah.
It could have very easily been everybody was like, oh, okay, Cedar Point's where you go to ride the tallest, and we're not even gonna try. But no, I think Big One was just a statement of no, we're all gonna try to beat this limit.
We're not stopping.
We need something like that to really kick people up, more, because we're not getting any higher much.
Yeah. That we need Cedar Point to build something big again. Get some inspiration, to get some blood flow.
SeaWorld will probably be the one to do it now.
Yeah, now they probably will. So the Battle of the Ages continues with the 2 and the 15 seed of the 1990s and the 1920s. 1997 versus 1920. 1997 was the 2 seed, and it had Alpengeist, which was the world's tallest and most twisted inverted roller coaster, which again, the 90s really pushed the false records and weird random things like that. Superman Escape from Krypton was the tallest and fastest coaster in the world when it opened, which is something that we need to put an asterisk on because we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. But that's what I mean. That was stated from the actual multiple sources of websites that I looked at. Superman Escape from Krypton, so it was technically the tallest in the world when it opened. And Steel Force at Dorney Park was the huge Morgan hypercoaster with out and back layout. However, 1920 had some pretty cool things. It had the oldest operating roller coaster in Britain with Scenic Railway, and it had Jackrabbit at Seabreeze, which is the third oldest operating roller coaster in the United States. But 1997 did take the victory here, and we'll move on to the next round.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. You kept cutting out really, really bad on that last segment.
I did?
Yeah. Like, I couldn't hear half of the word you said.
Why'd you make that one orange?
Yeah, there's a problem there.
You highlighted the whole thing too.
Well,
that's okay. That's too. That doesn't matter. We're past that. So
I know I just wanted to bring something up to you after we're done.
With this one?
I'm not sure how you want to handle it.
What do you mean? 59 was when Matterhorn opened?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we might just have to stick to our guts. I can just switch it around now in the actual bracket, but until then, let's see, where's that at? So 59 should have won technically?
Well, I don't know.
What year had Matterhorn opened? 1959, right?
Yeah, and all that other stuff opened in 1958.
We'll just do that then. For now, that's what it's going to have to be. All right, that's fine. We'll just, next time we'll clarify that. It doesn't really matter because it's the same principle that people voted for Matterhorn.
Yeah. All right, you're coming in clear. I don't know whether it was. I don't know what was going on, but like
That's all right. We needed somewhat
it
of a
was
break. I think we
anyway.
get to listen in the world when it
Yeah.
opened. And Steel Force at Dorney Park was
But I wasn't like I was like I was like hearing bits and pieces, and I was like kind of guessing when I should come in, and then all of a sudden it was just
97
like
to take
complete silence, and I'm like,
took the victory here, and we'll move on to the next round. All right, so we're just gonna start back up. I'm going into the 1980s and 1960s now. You ready?
Oh, wait, hold on one second. Let me find my spot on this.
We're right at the 1980s and 1960s. Wow.
60s. Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
So now we're moving on to the 1980s and the 1960s. This is an exciting event because both of these years, I think this might be the weakest of the four sections we have. If that's being fair, I don't know if it's fair to say that, but I think it is truly the weakest, which is interesting because there's a lot of better battles now because they're a lot closer in competition. I think before we had some that were like pretty obvious to tell, and now we're gotten to ones that are a lot more close in terms of battles. So I think in terms of what rides were produced, there were some good ones, but overall, I think it might have been one of the two weakest decades that we have.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. Except I think our one seed is extremely important, which we mentioned before.
And coincidentally, that's the year that you were born, correct?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Coincidentally, that was the year that you were born.
No.
Oh, I thought that was the year that you were born.
No, you're 9 years off.
I thought you said. Okay, all right. Well,
I was 9 years old when I went to ride Magnum XL 200.
Let me not put that in the podcast.
I didn't ride it that year. It took my parents like 2 or 3 years to talk me into riding.
I'm restarting that. So I thought you were born that year. I thought you told me that you were born that year.
No, I was born in 1980.
I thought
the year Laser Loop was built.
Okay. Redo-a-do-y. All right. I was going to make like a... All right, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
So now we're moving on to the 1980s and the 1960s, which I think probably is the weakest. We have the four regions again. We have the 2000s and the 1950s. We just did the 1990s and the 1920s through 30s. Now we're doing the 1980s through 1960s. And I think this is out of those regions that we have, this is the weakest of the two because these 2 decades really, they produced some good rides and we have some good ones, but they're closer in terms of competitiveness because some of the years just weren't as strong or didn't have the the big margin over the other. So it's going to be exciting. But they were, I think overall might be some of the weaker decades that we have listed.
Yeah, I think as a whole that's true. I think a lot happened, but they weren't really game. It was like more of the same until we hit our number 1 seed of 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was the biggest game-changing year for the coaster industry, and I think many enthusiasts would agree with that.
Yeah, you had Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point, which was the first coaster to go over 200 feet. You had Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun, which was rated the number 1 roller coaster in the world at the time of opening. And then you had Gordix at Park Asterix, which is the first roller coaster in the world with 7 inversions and the only coaster to have a dual inversion butterfly element. So yeah, you have Magnum up there, but you also have one that's really cool. That first one to have 7 inversions, which I thought was pretty interesting as well.
It has a decent supporting cast, but I mean,
it does, yeah.
What Magnum did for the industry, what Aero did for the industry, this was just a hugely monumental year.
It was very crucial, yeah.
And there's nothing like I was there when I was 9 years old. I was at Cedar Point for the opening of Magnum. And I didn't ride it for 2 or 3 years until my parents finally convinced me to ride it because I was scared to death of roller coasters back then, believe it or not.
I think
driving up to Cedar Point, the entrance was actually along what is now Cedar Point Road. There wasn't the
causeway.
Well, the causeway was there, but it was more like they used both entrances. So Cedar Point Road, I think, was the entrance for more people coming from from the east. But that's what, like, we were just driving along the lake, and all of a sudden you just saw this massive towering red thing. Like, it was just like nothing anyone had ever seen before.
Yeah.
Now you can't even see it.
Yeah, and that was a very important year, and it faced 1969, which really didn't have anything going for it. 1969 was the 16th seed with Serpent at Six Flags Astroworld, which we literally just put it was Astroworld's first roller coaster. And then Cedar Creek Mine Ride at Cedar Point opened, and it was the first mine train, I think. One of the first mine trains to be produced.
Yeah, I think Cedar Creek Mine Ride has a huge significance, even though it doesn't get much credit. But it can't compare to Magma.
Yeah. All right, so obviously the 1 seed took that in 1989. The Battle of the Ages continues with another upset. This is another upset somewhat. 8 seed versus the 9 seed. So 8 is the 1968, and the 9 seed is 1983. 1968 had bobsleds at Seabreeze and Wildcat at Frontier City. However, the 9 seed had Dragon Mountain, which is one of the largest steel looping coasters in the world, and Colossus, which was the Fire Dragon at Lagoon, which is selected as one of the top 10 coasters in the country when it opened in 1984. So, when it opened in 1983, but 1984 was the year that it got voted as the best, one of the best coasters in the world. So that took the place again. Again, this is one of the weaker brackets, I think. So none of those seem that significant. I don't think they'll make it that far in the bracketology, but
kind of shocked. I think bobsledge is pretty important.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think Dragon Mountain is often talked about a lot, about being like a very unique and awesome attraction. So I think a lot of people probably resonated with that more, especially because that I have never even, I don't think I've ever heard anyone, and I've never even mentioned bobsleds before.
Well, so this is the interesting thing about bobsleds. It is widely believed to be the first hybrid roller coaster. It was actually converted, and it is currently a hybrid roller coaster.
That's interesting. Well, people did not vote for that. I don't know. Again, I don't really think either way. I don't think either of those years will be making it that far. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think I will be, but we shall see. But yeah, the 9 seed there with 1983 took the victory. So now we have the 5 seed versus the 12 seed, 5 being 1985 and the 12 being 1966. 1985 took this victory with Disaster Transport, which began as Avalanche Run at Cedar Point, and then it got enclosed. And then Phoenix was purchased and reconstructed at Knoebels, which is a big thing. And the 12 seed really, it had Swamp Fox at Family Kingdom and Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Over Texas. So there really wasn't much competition there. The 5 seed, 1985 took it.
I mean, you think that, everybody right now remembers Flying Turns and everybody laughing at Dick Knoebel for trying to build something, and like the sign says, they told us we couldn't build it, but we did anyway. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a new thing for Dick Knoebel to build something that he said couldn't be done. Everybody laughed at Dick Knoebel when he decided he was going to move a wooden roller coaster. But he did it anyway, and I mean, it worked out.
Worked out pretty well.
Really, really well.
Consistently voted one of the best wooden coasters in the world. I think it worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Disaster Transport was actually a really good ride too. But I mean, Avalanche Run starting, that was the start of what became Disaster Transport. Yeah. But you just can't compare with Phoenix and the whole history of that.
It's crazy. It's great. All right, so now we have the 4 seed of 1988 versus the 13 seed of 1960. Again, looking kind of how weak this bracket is, I think. Avalanche at Kings Dominion opened in 1988, which was the only Mack bobsled roller coaster operating in the United States. That's something. Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain was just an aero coaster that was built along the western slope of Magic Mountain, and it follows the park's hilly terrain. And then Wolverine Wildcat, Michigan's Adventure, the park's original wooden roller coaster, has a double out and back layout, and it was designed to be modeled after Phoenix at Knoebels. So they took that inspiration. So I mean, it wasn't that big of a year, but it did win because it was facing the 13 seed of 1960, which is Skyliner at Lakemont Park. Which is, I know this is where I know.
Had the opportunity to ride Skyliner, and they don't
I knew
understand.
you'd feel disappointed in this, but the 4C did take the victory there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault anybody on that. But I just want to point out that Skyliner is not insignificant. It's a huge deal. It's a great coaster. I mean, this is a PTC coaster. That wasn't when it was built. Or I mean, that wasn't when it appeared at Lakemont Park. That was when it was built. I forget where it came from, but it was later moved to Lakemont Park.
Yeah, I read about that, but it is currently at Lakemount Park, so that's where we just had it
Yeah.
listed. So next, I think we kind of underrated this year, Bob. Looking back on it, at least looking at these three right here. 1984 was the 6th seed versus the 11th seed 1967. 1984 had Big Bad Wolf, which is widely accepted to be the best suspended roller coaster of all time, and King Cobra at Kings Island, which is North America's first stand-up roller coaster, and Ultra Twister, which is one of the all-time most unique and wacky roller coasters ever built. So I mean those three coasters right there are huge in historical significance and in ride experience. I know the people have said King Cobra and Big Bad Wolf are both great rides, and I've heard Ultra Twister is also a great ride. So
Oh, King Cobra was a phenomenal ride.
yeah, I think I think we might see a run of a good year right there. I think that might be heading somewhere because I mean 11 had Cannonball at Lake Winnipesaukee and Delanagay Mine Train at Six Flags Over Georgia, which I've ridden. Sadly, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I have ridden that roller coaster.
I actually do like that mine train.
It is a fun mine train. Yeah, I will agree. But obviously, with what you got in the 6th seed,
Cannonball. You hear a lot of talk about Cannonball at times, Lake Winnie. At least I have.
yeah, I have heard some talk
It
about it.
just I don't think it can compare with the others.
I think 1984 really might be the coaster that might be like the underdog that makes the run here because I think we somewhat underrated it there. Definitely looking back on it, the selection committee might have made an error.
It might be.
Yeah, it might be. It might make a run for it. All right, so now we have the 3 seed of 1986 versus the 14 seed of 1964. Biggest upset of the tournament, I think. I'm calling it right now, at least for now, because a 14 seed took the victory over a 3 seed. And I think again, when looking back at 1984 and seeing it, I think it was definitely a better year. But that being said, the selections are final once we make them. So the 3 seed of 1986 had Mindbender at Galaxyland, which is the world's tallest, fastest, and longest indoor triple loop coaster. Maybe it was the 80s. It might have been the 80s that started the weird records again. Indoor triple loop coaster. And then Batman, which is one of the few Intamin stand-ups to ever be built.
Are you there? I lost you again.
I lost you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's weird. It's like I don't know if it's your trigger point again.
Oh.
Are you talking right now?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's continue. Where are we at? What did I say?
I don't know. I didn't hear.
We built. And then Batman, which we built. I was saying that Batman was the first, one of the only Intamin stand-up coasters to ever be built. Coaster. And then Batman, which is one of the...
Which was kind of a B&M.
Yeah. But shh. All right, you ready?
Yep.
However, 1964, with the introduction of Blue Streak at Cedar Point, took the victory. I don't know what happened there. If people like Blue Streak a lot. I mean, I like Blue Streak a lot as well. I think it's a great ride, but I did not think it would surpass. I mean, it's one roller coaster, Blue Streak, and you think Blue Streak it has some historical significance. It was the first at Cedar Point. I mean, it was the oldest at Cedar Point as of now, so it is definitely has some historical significance. But I just didn't see it making it. I don't. We'll see how far it goes. I don't know how much people.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Mindbender was a bigger deal than Blue Streak.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's kind of strange that I don't know.
I mean, Batman: The Escape was a pretty big deal too, but Mindbender, I think that's just a. I don't know. I think that's an important coaster.
Yeah, and it's widely talked about a lot in the community. It's supposed to be a great ride, so it's surprising, but we'll see. Maybe I don't know if this is like a 14 seed, like the people are gonna continue to vote for. If this is just a one-time thing that they thought it truly was better, I don't know. We shall see in the future. I'm excited to see the results of the future. Moving on to the 1980 seed versus 10 seed in 1965. 1980 took the victory here with Big Thunder Mountain Railway, Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa, which is the Schwarzkopf, and Carolina Cyclone, which actually was the first roller coaster in the world to have 4 inversions. And then we had Mad Mouse at Lakemont Park, which was 1965, and that did not do well. So 7 seed, I'm pretty sure 1980 got every single vote. So 1980 will move on.
Was relocated. It wasn't built at Lakemont in 1965.
All right, well, even then. So then there was...
Mouse was phenomenal, though.
65 must not be a year of any coaster. Then I think that might have been the only one that was listed.
I don't care. It was still a phenomenal coaster. But yeah, I can't argue with this. I mean, 1980. This is just huge. It was also Laser Loop.
Yeah,
that's lovely. And it was also the year that brought everybody me.
Without that year, the historical significance is incredible, because without that year, you would not have Coaster Talk Bob.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here.
It would just be me talking about random polls on my. I like how it used to be. The 2 seed took on the 15 seed, 1987. This is the 2 seed, took on 15 seed, 1961. Vortex was introduced in 1987, which is the first roller coaster in the world to feature 6 inversions. Iron Dragon at Cedar Point, which is a suspended roller coaster, was also introduced. And then an Ultra Twister, which is one of the only barrel roller coasters in North America, was introduced that year. So that was pretty significant that year right there. I still think 1986, I think that truly might have been truly the 1 seed. 1984 was truly the 1 seed, I think, of this year. I think we're going to see that go for a run, because even this, yes, Vortex is great. Yes, Iron Dragon. Yes, Ultra Twister. But I just think what we listed off earlier, 1984, was significant. They faced Little Dipper at Camden Park, and it took the W. So 1987 will move on.
1987 is really significant too. I think Vortex, I think, was significant even when it was built. That's not just my nostalgia speaking. I have nostalgia right now for Vortex, but
I think it might a little bit be your nostalgia speaking.
There's some there, but I think Vortex was a big deal when it was built. It was another one bringing Kings Island or bringing the map, but the 6 inversion things, it was, everybody always considered it one of Arrow's mega loopers.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was significant, but I just think, I don't know. I think 84 might make a run for its money. We shall see. Moving on now to the next region. I think this is the best. This is the one that we had a tough time figuring out, because the 70s and the 2000s are consisted of some of the best coaster years of all time. I think we're going to see a lot of winners out of this category. It's crazy how many good rides. Obviously, the 2010s produced some of the best rides in history. Because the industry has really just been so innovative since the 2010s. So. The number 1 seed in this was the 2012, which introduced Sky Rush at Hershey Park, which is the tallest fast roller coaster at Hershey Park. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland, which is the first B&M coaster to go over 300 feet tall, and it was the largest coaster in Canada when it opened. And Shambhala, which is often considered one of the best B&M hyper coasters in the world. Those 3 right there, that's crazy. Those are 3 phenomenal coasters. 3 coasters that I love. I want to get on Shambhala really bad. I love Leviathan, and I love Sky Rush. So, those are 3 phenomenal rides. So,
I'll get... Sky Rush was just... I think Sky Rush was a big deal.
Yeah, Sky Rush is huge. But that faced the 1972, which was the 16 seed, which introduced Racer at Kings Island, which is credited for beginning the second golden age of roller coasters. So that really is historically important, and I think it did get some votes. Fire in the Hole Silver Dollar City introduced a unique attraction that combines a dark ride with roller coaster elements. So 72 was actually very good. But again, I mean, 70s and the 2000s consisted of so many good years. So there's a lot of good fights
Yeah, this was a
within
tough
this.
call for
Yeah,
sure.
it was tough to make this. Um,
Yes.
so moving on to the 8 and 9 seeds of this bracket. 8 seed was 2019 and the 9 seed was 2013. Another kind of an upset because the 9 seed took the victory. 2019 had Copperhead Strike, which we know of because this just happened last year, but Copperhead Strike, Yukon Strike, and Steel Curtain opened that year. But 2013 took the victory with Gatekeeper, Outlaw Run, and Gold Striker. So it's exciting stuff right there. I don't know how I feel about this. 2019 was a good year. 2013 was a good year, so I think it's fair. But I think 2019 slightly in my
Well,
books takes the
20,
cake.
some other coasters may have played a role. In 2013, you actually had Smiler, which was a really big deal.
Yeah, that was a big
Um,
deal.
Also, White Lightning was another coaster that was built that year, which I mean, not not as big of a deal as what Smiler is, but it's significant. It's still known as a good coaster. Full Throttle was also built then, and the biggest one of all, I think that you missed is that is the year that Flying Turns actually opened at Knoebels.
I don't.
Um,
I know that you think that's historically, and I know it's somewhat historically important, but I think the other rides are, I don't know, just as good. And I mean, I'm not even talking about experience, but I'm talking about large scale Gatekeeper, huge. The Outlaw Run was the first wooden roller coaster with multiple inversions, and California's Great America introduced the tallest, fastest wooden coaster in Northern California, with Gold Striker. And Gatekeeper was a big deal because I mean that they not only did they introduce Gatekeeper, they redid their entire front entrance and really
yeah,
brought
I mean
Cedar Point in.
that was a big deal for the park. I think my thing with Flying Turns isn't so much the ride itself. It was more of just the this this person that has turned the industry on its head. Had a couple years where people were starting to question him, and he finally again, you know, said to the industry, "Look, we can still push boundaries in weird ways, in ways you don't think." I think that was the significance of Flying Turns. Um, but I think Smiler was a big deal. I do think that that may have played some significance for anybody that actually looked more into it.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, so then we moved on, and again to another great battle. I mean, this bracket by far had the best battles, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the outcomes are of this. But we had 1979 versus 1975, the 5 seed versus the 12 seed. The 5 seed took the W, but I think it was pretty close looking back on it. So the 5 seed of 1979 had the Beast, which is the world's longest roller coaster, and it was a huge deal. Kings Island had built this coaster in house, and it was the biggest, the tallest, the fastest of its kind when it opened. It was crazy. And then Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is one of the most popular Disneyland attractions, opened up that year as well. But the 12 seed Rebel Yell at Kings Dominion and Corkscrew at Knott's Berry Farm, which are two pretty well known and still to this day historically significant rides out there.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to beat the Beast,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
not just in the ride itself, but what happened to create that ride. And I think it was John Allen that was kind of advising Charles Din, who was working on the Beast, and he had specifically said, you want to do these records, the key is going to be keeping it low to the ground, which is what created that Beast being spread out so that it
yeah,
could stay low to the ground while still being extremely tall and fast. And it the notable thing about that is Din didn't take that forward in his other coasters, which we now have seen many of them become RMCs, just because they tear themselves apart. But just I think the way that the Beast was developed is significant.
yeah. And obviously the records are broken, stuff like that as well. Played are crucial. All right,
And it
so
still remains it. That's the other thing. It's like it's still the
yeah,
longest.
exactly. It still hasn't been taken on. It still hasn't taken over, and that's crazy.
It is officially 1 year older than me, and it is longer.
Oh boy, that's crazy to think about. All right, so number
Yeah,
4 we
pretty
have
old.
the number 4 seed was 2015, and that took on the 13 seed of 2010. With 2015, we saw the introduction of Cannonball, which is a very unique coaster designed and built by Lagoon. And we saw
Yep.
Schwarz de Carnen, which is considered one of the most intense and best coasters on the planet. And then we saw Fury 325 at Carowinds, which is that name speaks for itself in itself. So 2010 was also a good year, though. We had Intimidator 305, which is one of the tallest and fastest coasters in the world and constantly ranked one of the most intense and best coasters on the planet. Joris and Jadronk at Efteling, which is a dueling GCI roller coaster. And 13, at Alton Towers, which is the world's first vertical free drop roller coaster. Also opened up that year. So these are two good matchups. And again, these things, this is the 4 and 13 seed against each other, and this is already a fantastic matchup. This is already, really great.
Yeah.
Probably better than any of the 1960s and the 1980 ones we had. This is already like crazy close. And I think the 4 seed did pull it out with 2015, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty close. So interesting.
Yeah, and I think I agree with this one. I mean, I 305 was a really big deal, but in hindsight, I think it was more of a big deal because it in a sense was the predecessor to Sky Rush. Um, at least that's my feeling. I think other people may think differently, but I think Cannonball was such a huge thing. Again, it was another small park pushing the boundaries. Which, as we go through this, I'm starting to realize how much small parks have actually pushed boundaries.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized it was this significant.
Yeah, and looking back over the years, you learn a lot about when rides opened and see how things influenced one another, and it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah.
So through this, we're actually learning quite a lot as well. The 6 seed 2014 versus the 11 seed 2017 was pretty close as well, and makes sense why, because if you look at these rides, it makes a lot of sense. You had Banshee at Kings Island, which is the park's 14th roller coaster and the biggest investment in Kings Island history, and it was also the longest inverted roller coaster in the world in 2014. And Helix at Leesburg, which is a very smooth and fantastic LSM launched Mack roller coaster that I've heard is phenomenal. And then Medusa Steel Coaster opened up that year as well, which is considered one of the best RMCs out there. And it features one of the 3 barrel roll drops in North America. And I believe it was the first to feature a barrel roll drop on an RMC, or on any coaster. I think it was the first barrel roll drop as well. So that's interesting. And the 11 seed, again, you think this is a 6 and 11 seed. Normally, the 11 seed is, you can tell the 6 seed is better. But the 11 seed is really close, and I believe it was really close because you had DC Rivals, which is the only hypercoaster in the Southern Hemisphere, and you had Red Force, which is huge. It was one of the fastest roller coasters in the world, and it opened up. I believe it was the fastest in Europe. I mean, it broke so many records for Europe. And then Mystic Timbers as well. Kings Island opened up one of the most well-known and most appreciated GCI roller coasters.
Yeah, this is one that I think I personally lean more towards 2017. Although the one thing I have to say is the Banshee bringing the vest restraints is a huge deal, I think, and I think that may be crucial to B&M as we move forward.
Yeah.
But I think Red Force was a big deal because of what it. Again, I think it was a technology feat that I didn't think people could. I didn't think people envisioned being possible. Obviously, it doesn't compare the whole way to Intamin's accelerator coasters, but it's really pushing the limits of LSM. And I think people are realizing that LSM may be able to go a lot further in the future. And I also think Mystic Timbers was just a huge deal. So I think this is close, and I don't fault anybody's vote either way. I just think I personally lean towards 2017.
Yeah, that makes sense. And again, DC Rivals was a huge thing, so I
That
definitely
also is a big deal.
I definitely understand it. But yeah, 2017 took the crown. I did not take the crown, and 2014 took the win there. which is surprising, but it was a good battle, and I think all of these are really good battles. So I think that's the interesting thing
Yes, yes.
about the 70s and the 2010s. I think are two of the best decades. We probably should have spread them out more, but we didn't, and in a way, it kind of makes it a lot more exciting for right now because it's a lot more exciting in these early rounds, as well as it's going to get even more exciting as we close in to the victor. All right, so number 3 seed 1978 versus the number 14 seed 1976. Which this I think again is a very good battle. Shockwave at Six Flags Over Texas opened up in 1978, which is the 3 seed, and it was the first coaster to feature 2 consecutive vertical loops. Gemini was the very popular dueling coaster, which is it was the tallest roller coaster in the world when it opened. And Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain was the tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster on the West Coast when it opened in 1978. And it was the world's largest roller coaster when it opened. So that's huge. All three of those rides are huge and historically significant. However, 1976 saw Revolution, which is considered the world's first modern steel roller coaster to feature a 360 vertical loop. And it also saw Thunder Roads at Carowinds open up, which is a dueling wooden coaster. So, makes sense
And
why
this
the
was
3C. This is a tough one, yeah. Makes sense why 78 won, but I would not have been surprised if 76 had somehow managed to take the to victory.
I think Gemini is pretty significant, and I think that's probably why 78's winning here. And definitely something I agree with. I do think that Revolution was a big deal. Thunder Road was as well, but um, that was more of a carrying on the racer from Kings Island more than anything. Schwarzkopf, I think that Schwarzkopf was both Shockwave and Revolution, I believe. If I'm
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I mean, you're kind of like you kind of have Schwarzkopf against Schwarzkopf here. So that kind of I think balances it out. Um, Gemini is just the I think the deciding factor here. Colossus is also a big deal. I never got to ride it, but I kind of feel like that kind of deserves to maybe still be standing.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
yeah,
I can't speak since I didn't ride it.
yeah.
I just think that's one of the ones that I really wish wouldn't have got the RMC treatment, just from my view.
Yeah, from a historically significant standpoint, not just from a ride experience, because we all know it's probably a better ride now in terms of intensity and airtime and all that. But it definitely was a huge historical coaster. So in that battle, 3 seeded 1978 did win, um, but I believe it was pretty close. So it was interesting. Now we're moving on to another close battle of 7, which was 2016 at the 7 seed, and then 10, which was 1977. So the 7 seed 2016 had Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan, which is the world's largest flying coaster. It had Storm Chaser Kentucky Kingdom, which was a RMC treatment done on the coaster the dueling wooden coaster they used to have there. I can't remember the name of that coaster right now. I It slipped my mind, but
Is that Twisted Twins?
Twisted Twins, yes, correct. And they redid that, so that was pretty interesting to see an RMC get dueling coaster get converted into an RMC like it did. And then Lightning Rod at Dollywood, the fastest wooden roller coaster in the world, and the first to utilize an LSM launch, opened up that year. So that really pushed the envelope for wooden coasters, and I think that's why um, that no, the 7 seed did take the victory in this. However, 77 was also a pretty significant year. You had Super Duper Looper at Hershey Park, the first looping coaster on the East Coast. You had Demon at Kings Island, the first launched shuttle coaster in the world. And you had Double Loop at Geauga Lake, which was one of the first looping coasters in the country. So a lot of things to do with loops and launches, but 7 did take the win, and I understand why. I get Lightning Rod was a huge thing, and I think that's really why that year won. But
I think it was significant to the point that it's a wooden coaster using an LSM launch. At the same time, I think that Demon was a really big deal. I believe that was a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop.
yes, that's correct.
Um, those were significant. I think those. I still to this day think that if Schwarzkopf continued pushing the limits of the launch, we would probably be farther than what Intamin and Premier have developed. Um, he was just a madman.
I know. Can you imagine him alive today? Oh,
Oh my god, I can't. But I just think Demon is a lot more significant than people probably give it credit for. Double Loop at Geog Lake is just kind of interesting too because it's kind of Arrow finding their way. I mean, I did get to ride that ride. There was nothing to it. Literally was a double loop. You climbed the lift hill, you did 2 loops, and you came back to the station. But at the same time, I think I think those were important moves for Arrow to make to get to where they were later. But I lean more towards 77 solely because of Demon. And Super Duper Looper 2 is an amazing ride as well, and still remains to be an amazing ride.
yeah. And really, we're seeing the 70s a lot more dominated by Schwarzkopf than people than normally think. Like, you don't usually, I used to think Schwarzkopf was kind of like the underrated manufacturer, but really, they were the dominant force. I mean, they really pushed the envelope, and a lot of these rides that we've been talking about having all these records were Schwarzkopf's, which is awesome.
And I don't think people realize. Like, I mean, Arrow truly was significant, but Schwarzkopf really was as well. And I think sometimes people get lost,
Yeah,
and they see Arrow's significance, but they fail to see Schwarzkopf's significance,
yeah,
which is kind of frustrating because I think they both were vitally important in their own way.
hmm yeah, they were
Certainly, I mean, Anton knew how to build coasters that would last.
exactly.
Not saying that I still think Arrows are. I think Arrow's biggest downfall is the over the shoulder restraint, where Anton didn't use those. It was all lap bar stuff. It's kind of like he figured out what we're starting to figure out now. New coasters now are getting all lap bars. We're doing away with horse collars, and like that's what Anton knew back then.
Yeah,
Arrow didn't.
yeah, and 20, 2016 to take the victory there, though. Lightning Rod, I think, really pushed the envelope for a lot of people, and they voted for that. So, I think I
Yeah,
might
and
lean.
that's fair.
I think I might lean towards 77 as well, but the audience decides. All right, so number
Yep.
2 is 2018 and versus the 15 seed, which is 2011, and the 2 seed of 2018 had Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, which is the tallest and fastest full circuit spinning roller coaster in the world. Wonder Woman, which is the first coaster to use the RMC single rail Raptor track, and Steel Vengeance, which is the tallest, fastest, and longest hybrid roller coaster in the world. Obviously, people are going to vote for that. That's the year that won. However, 2011 got a couple of votes, and people were saying, "Come on, it's the beginning of RMC," because they had New Texas Giant that year, the very first RMC coaster. Daredevil Dive, which was the tallest coaster, beyond vertical coaster in the southeast, and Cheetah Hunt, which was an Intamin launch coaster that consistently ranks in the top 50 coasters in the world. It makes sense why 2018 won. 2011 definitely had some sort of, had some significant impact in terms of RMC began, but I think overall 2018 probably was the better year, especially with the new unique rides like that we got.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of tough. I kind of lean more towards 2011. Still Vengeance I don't think is as big of a deal as most people make it out to be. Time Traveler is though.
And Wonder Woman's pretty big too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I could go either way here. I do want to really quick make a correction. For 1977, Demon at Kings Island actually was a Arrow launched loop.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say thank you to Austin in the chat for pointing that out. It is one of the ones that started out on the platform and was launched down the hill and up the other side, I believe.
All right. Well, yeah,
So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So Arrow did do that. That's great, and that was pretty great record right there. First launched shuttle coaster in the world. So yeah, that is about it for we made it through, Bob. We made it through all the brackets. 64 coasters, years of coasters that we just talked about. Crazy stuff. So if you guys want to check out the bracket, it's on the website. You go to the live look-in page, and you will see the bracket is there next to where you can watch this live. Where you can watch this live every night, 8:30 on Thursday nights. We record this podcast. Which is exciting stuff. And so that's about it for this episode. We don't have a break. We don't have a weekly poll this week other than for you guys to go check out our social media and keep up to date for the round of 32 that's going to begin soon. It's exciting stuff. We're going to figure out the best coaster year of all time. It's going to be so much fun. and you guys need to be a part of it because you guys are the deciding factors. You guys are the ones that vote and help us figure out what the best kosher year of all time was. So that's about it for this episode of Kosher Talk, your source for everything roller coasters. Follow us on Twitter at koshertalk_pod, and you can follow Bob's Twitter at koshertalkbob. You can follow us on Facebook at Kosher Talk Pod, Instagram at Kosher Talk Pod. Contact us personally, ask us questions, have comments on the show. If you have any corrections of what we might have made a flaw or anything like that, to contact us, koshertalkpodcast.com/contact. And then you can email me personally, James at koshertalkpodcast.com. It's been a fun episode, and there's more to come. A lot of fun parks that we're going to be visiting, as we talked about. I'm really excited to find out the best kosher year of 2019, of all time. Not just 2019. I don't know why I said that, but thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. It's been a long night, Bob. And,
It has been.
We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for listening. That's good. I'll leave it off on a joke.
Yep. We did it.
I would say I'll re-edit that, but I'm just going to say no. All right,
Oh,
guys,
wow.
on the live stream.
Demon actually moved to Camden Park. It closed in 1999.
All right, guys, on the live stream. Good night.
Good night, everybody.